Police say Mr Justice Opaz was shot with a .22 calibre weapon.
4 murders.
The Parramatta blast shattered brickwork in the forecourt of the empty family court building.
Unsolved for 30 years.
Len turned around and said, I can shoot you any time I want to.
A must-see true crime investigation. The Family Court Murders starts 8:30 Tuesday on ABC TV or log in to stream on ABC iView.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
We're gonna be kids.
Grandstand AFL
on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Very warm welcome wherever you're listening around Australia, around the world, under the roof here at Docklands, where there has been plenty of drama during the week at the Bombers, with the microscope placed fair and square down at Windy Hill. But there's been a lot of extra drama in the last 45 minutes or so. Already a couple of force changes with Stringer and Cox both out due to injury. Hind and Bryan came in, but that has been thrown out the window because there's another 5 Essendon players who've gone down with illness. Ridley, Kelly, Guelphy, Waterman and Durham are all out. Ham, Baldwin, Zirk Thatcher and Francis come in. Devon Smith wasn't going to play footy for up to a month to get his knee right. He's had to put his hand up and say, I'm in. And Alistair Lord will make his debut as the medical sub. A bit of drama over at the Hawks too, because Chad Wingard was supposed to play his 200th game tonight. He's a late out due to illness, and Connor McDonald comes back into the side after having lost his place after last week's performance. Good evening and welcome to a fair bit happening here under the roof, and we haven't even started yet. Andrew May's with you on this Saturday evening. Alongside me to call all the action is Jess Webster. How's your commentary book looking, Jess?
My commentary book, I need to start again. It's an absolute mess. It's going to be a really interesting night of footy. Not much is going right for the Bombers at the moment, but you never know. Backs against the wall, it could bring out the best in them, or the fight and the hunger that we want to see from Essendon might happen tonight, given all that they've had to deal with in the last hour, let alone the last week. As for Hawthorn, carrying the favouritism tag into tonight's clash, will be really interesting to see how they handle the pressure. Either way, Maisie, I think we've got a very interesting night ahead of us.
We do indeed. We'll keep you across what happens up north as well, because there is an interest there as well. But all the focus, of course, between these two sides under the roof tonight. Chris Johnson, as you walked in, obviously probably heard about the changes as you were coming in. What does that do to a side? How difficult is that with 5 out at the last minute?
Yeah, you've got to try and take positives out of it, obviously. It's not good. A lot of this stuff is going around. I had it a couple of weeks ago and had to pull out as well, so there's a fair bit of flu going around. I know it's a lot going around the schools and just in the general community. So I think what you've got to do is just set out some easy, simple goals, what you want to achieve tonight. Look, it's going to be hard for Essendon to win tonight. Obviously, the Hawks are probably going a little bit better than what the Bombers are, but I think at the moment, for the Essendon outfit, I think they just need to have some simple goals that they need to go away. If they can win the game, fantastic, and you're always going to prepare to win the game. And look, if that doesn't come out of tonight for Essendon, I think they just need to tick off on a couple of things that they're looking to achieve and set some clear goals on what they want to achieve tonight.
Nathan Burke, welcome to you. 7 weeks is a long time in footy. Essendon fans might have penciled this in as a win at the start of the year, but it's become a whole lot harder now.
Yes, good evening, Maisie, Jess, Jono. I'm fighting fit at the moment, if anyone cares. But if Essendon don't come out and play hard, tough footy, I'm going to get the flu at half-time going home, because I'm not watching them play the way that they've been playing in the last couple of weeks. So if that is the way what they're going to dish up, I'm going to get a cough and go home. So Essendon, pull your finger out. Let's have a tough game here tonight.
And I think the way they've been playing, Berkey, they've just been... Their big accumulators of stats have been getting the ball, but they've just been mucking around. I want to see them penetrate tonight. Have a go. See what you can actually produce. Not just sort of handball the ball around, chip it around and get your stats up. Let's have a crack tonight.
Lauren Borden is the 5th member of our Grandstand AFL team tonight. Down on the boundary, Loz, good evening.
Hello, Maisie. Good to be down here. The Bombers couldn't even get the first one with the toss. That went to James Sicily, so the Hawks will be kicking towards the Coventry end of the ground tonight. I've got to say, though, the Bombers bench, their smiles, they're laughing. They look a bit relaxed, so that might just be the game plan tonight. Go out there, have fun. We'll see what we can produce against the Hawks.
Bombers fans eagerly waiting a response from their team tonight. A very different looking team to what they expected half an hour ago. But we're under the roof and we're almost set to get underway. Liam Shields is the sub for the Hawks. Alistair Lord for the Bombers, and Jess Webster to take you through the opening quarter.
So Draper against Lynch in the first ruck contest of the night. Give that one to Draper. Newcomb's first there for Hawthorn. Free kick going Hawthorn's way to Newcomb. He's quick to dish it off to Day, who pumps Hawthorn inside 52. A contest. Dropping back in the hole is Heppel, the skipper.
We've got Essendon played down already.
To Merritt as there's a Bomber behind play.
Looked like Zerk Thatcher might have rolled an ankle or something as that ball was coming down.
He's holding his knee, actually, Berkey.
Rubbing his knee a bit. So Merritt flares it out wide to Shield, who goes to Hind and kicks short to right half back.
That's a big blow for Essendon early in the piece. Now they've won. They've either got to get him off quickly because they're one down man at the moment in this attack.
Redmond switches the line of attack to left half back. Laverty takes the mark, puts it out in front of Heppel, who tried to stay in. He was shoved over aggressively by O'Meara. Ball in to take place, right on centre wing.
So again, we just seen Essendon there, just no sort of penetration in their stats there. They just came from one side of the ground and had made no territory at all. Sorry to cut you off, Maisie.
All good, Zerk Thatcher back to his position now, and the ball's headed in his direction. Out in front, O'Meara takes the mark. Right half forward, might just have the distance here. He'll have to kick this 51 or 52. He's going to go back and have a think about it. Plenty of players in front of him from a Hawthorn point of view, and the Bombers getting numbers back.
Still grabbing at his knee at the moment, so...
And he keeps rubbing it furiously as well, so see some sort of knock on it. Hopefully he can play out the game. In comes O'Meara. He struck that pretty well. It's just to the left-hand side. First score of the evening is a behind after a minute and a half. The Bombers trail by 1.
Redmond to bring the ball back in for the Bombers. Again, if you've just joined us, 5 late changes coming into tonight, all due to illness. As Redmond goes straight down the corridor, looking for Draper in a 2-on-1. Did well to bring it to ground. Warple collects for the Hawks, and Draper drives him into the turf, ball up inside the centre square.
As you'd expect, there's no tags or anything going on, but you've got Mitchell against Parrish.
Draper palms it down. It's sharked by Newcomb, who gives it to Warple, who's coughed it up. Essendon ball in the middle. Perkins gets around Impey. Fires out a handball to Sheila. Goes backwards to Redmond. It kicks out wide through the hands of Wright. Martin at ground level for the Bombers. Evades O'Meara. Wheels around on the right. Spears a ball to half forward. Too much on it for Hobbs. And taking the intercepting mark as Hardwick for the Hawks.
They had 10 possessions there of a gain of 2 metres.
Hardwick to Impey, to Scrimshaw. Risky kick, set Newcomb a task. Did well in between two Bombers to take a good mark. Got the hand pass quickly to McGuinness, then McDonald, the late in for the Hawks. He scrubbers a kick, really gave Callow no chance there. Caught under him, he becomes the tackler in the end. Umpire lets them go. He finally gets out a handball to Newcomb, who was spun 360, eventually broke the tackle. High kick will land at the top of 50, and there's a shepherding free kick. Advantage is played. McGrath comes away with it and finds Wright, who's come a long way from home at left half back.
It's a couple of times he's actually presented for the ball coming out of their defensive 50 on the defensive side of the wing. It's probably not where you want Peter Wright.
Just drives it long down the line. Or pushed out of the contest was Baldman. The mark is taken by Scrimshaw. The umpire says it's okay. So Scrimshaw at right half back for the Hawks. Kicks inside defensive 50 to Sicily. Flares it out wide to Impey. Still inside defensive 50. Kicks up the corridor and finds Mitchell at centre half back. Will come back out the other side. Swings it across to Scrimshaw. It goes through his fingers, allows Baldwin to come in. Scrimshaw has to play tackler. The umpire circling and Pays holding the ball. So Hawks are lucky to get out of that one. And Sicily chips short and finds Day at right half back, right where they started.
Settling okay here, the Bombers, for 5 late changes. Day, an awkward one, gathered in the end by O'Meara. Hand pass to Bramble and then to McDonald. Good hand pass inside 50. Gunston had a fumble, ran into trouble. Heppel there for the Bombers, slides in, got the hand pass out to McGrath. Quick hands are okay, although it's turned over. McDonald, high snap to the top of the square. Lynch sets himself and takes the mark on his chest. Left forward pocket. He'll have to snap this around. But he's only 15 out. Wastes no time at all and misses. Near side. That seemed extraordinarily rushed. Didn't think about it at all. 2 behinds the Hawks. Essendon yet to score after 4.5 minutes.
It's funny what Lynch has been doing. As soon as Hawthorn get the footy, he shoots forward into his forward 50 area and deep. And that time it was just a contested mark in the goal square. He should have done better finishing off with the goal. But he's looks like he's going to try and get Draper on the defensive side rather than having to follow him around.
Lovely kick from Redmond to right at left half back. It goes back to Redmond on defensive 50. Now kicks into the corridor and finds Hine from centre half back. Kicks a long one to the outer side wing. It's picked off by McGuinness. Chip short to Frost, who's all alone in the centre square. Quick to move it on. And has Gunston floating forward inside 50 and marks 40 out, 45-degree angle to the left.
It just comes back to the dangerous kick. It was almost a 50-metre kick across the corridor in the centre square, and it just had too much hang time where McGuinness was able to judge it pretty well in the air, take a nice chest mark, and then when you turn it over like that, the forwards are all sort of sitting behind, and that's where Gunston was. He had no opponent near him at all.
So 12 goals so far this season for Jack Gunston. Lets it fly from 45. It's going to go across the face for another minor score. The Hawks 3 behinds. Bombers yet to score through 6 minutes in the opening term.
So a few missed opportunities for the Hawks to open up a handy lead at the start of this one. Redmond kicks in. He finds Parrish 30 metres from his defensive goal line. Parrish has Zirk Thatcher out wide. Oh. That's where he's going to head, and he's overhit that. Or has he? Millimetre perfect. I thought the same, Jono. That looked like it was going 2 or 3 metres out of bounds on the full. It landed right on the line and into the palms of Zirk Thatcher, who chips inboard to Redmond. And Redmond off a couple of steps. Kick is okay, looking for Martin, who tried to reel in the one-hander. Couldn't do so. Smith tackle, dispossessed. Day around a couple. Hand pass back is okay to Bramble. Chip over the top's good to Newcomb, who could have kept going at right half forward, just pauses on his kick.
A low bullet pass towards half forwards. A good one. Finds Bruce 60 from goal. Wheels around. Chips it inside 50. Kick had too much on it for Gunston. Falls into the lap of Laverty. He goes backwards to Merritt. Handballs backwards to Bryan and flares it to the outer side and finds Ham.
Jess, you're going to say that a lot tonight about Essendon. Backwards. They had an opportunity to go straight through the corridor with numbers. They elected to go backwards twice.
So Ham kicks long to the outer side wing. Francis has to turn tackler. Ball spills out to Sicily. He's stripped of it. Impey has a go. Umpire calls play on and then eventually says, I'll have it. Ball up 10 metres in from the boundary line on the outer side wing.
Hawthorn 3 behinds through the opening 7.5 minutes. Merritt extracts it from the stoppage, bursts away. Kick inside 50's a good one. All right. Big collision. Francis was coming back with the flight. He ended up with the ball, got it out to Martin. Right forward pocket, tries to dribble it through and goes out of bounds. So that was a hefty collision. All players are okay. Right running towards the ball. Francis back with the flight. Ball to be tossed in. Right forward pocket. Chance here for the Bombers. Right. V. Callow in the ruck. Right palms it to the back. Trying to burst onto that was Parrish. Couldn't do so. Now a chance for Ham. Hand pass to Smith. Now further out wide to Perkins. Turns to the top of the square. Sicily just nudged his opponent underneath it and juggled the mark defensively.
Just over handballing in their forward line, the Bombers at the moment. I thought Burke and myself, Ham had right away to pull that trigger. He had a clear shot on goal, but wanted to create something out of nothing.
So Sicily short to Newcomb. Searching kick is a good one. Finds Impey at left half back. Kicks out wide into the path of McGuinness, who's marked centre wing position, city side of the ground. Wheels around. Long kick inside 50. Searching for Gunston against Laverty. Well done, Laverty. Takes the intercept marked, used the body well, and then chips on the 45 to Hind. Wants to give it off to Caldwell. He's got some room to move. Chips it out wide. Heppel is marked. Again, wing position out of side. Wants to send it to half forward. It's a searching kick, looking for Wright, who was nudged under it by Sicily. Umpire says okay. Smith tried to keep it alive, couldn't. Boundary throw in 40 metres around from the Bombers' goal. They trail by 3 behinds. 9.5 played first term.
Still looking for our opening goal here. The Lions have a couple against West Coast. About 6 minutes into that one. Ball tossed back into play. Right half forward here for the Dons. The back of the pack, Ham just poked it past. It was central, but it was all Hawks. Morrison takes the mark. He wants to go quickly. Kicks a ball which was awkward, but it's that okay for Moore, who takes the mark on his chest, then wants to go quickly himself. Brewster's in a 2-on-1. Numbers win out. Laverty, chip over the top is okay. Coming up to meet it is Baldwin. Baldwin just forward of centre wing. Inboard to McGrath, who has no one on him, so he can take a bounce. He gets to 55, goes inside 50, 1-2 for Perkins, not the third. Parrish was there to right front and centre, and Essendon have the first. Against the run of play, a shot of confidence for the Bombers, and they lead by 3 points after 10 minutes here in the opening term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL tonight, Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke.
I think, who was it that got the ball, the short kick into the middle and took off?
That was McGrath.
McGrath. His first look was, I'm going to go sideways again.
Yeah.
And then he realised, hang on, I've got 25 metres of dead space in front of me. I'm going to run into it. And what happened was the Essendon forwards were allowed to just work one-on-one against their opponent. They didn't have to battle 2 or 3 of them because they actually moved the ball quickly through the corridor and got the ball forward rather than going backwards and sideways. So hopefully that is just a little bit of a sample of, hey boys, if we got grass in front of us and we go and give our forwards every opportunity to work one-on-one, we might be able to kick a big enough score to win this game.
Well, the last couple of forwards they went forward with Berkey, they looked dangerous, so they should have confidence in that.
That was Parrish's first goal of season 2022. So he started well, but it's Hawthorn out of the centre. Newcomb drives the Hawks inside 50 through a set of hands. Coming through Bruce, just gets the handball clear to Moore, who's stripped of it by McGrath. Ball trickles over the boundary line. Throw in 45 metres around from the Hawks' goal.
That was better pressure than by the Bombers. Got back in numbers.
So Bombers with the opening goal of the game. They lead it by 3. 12 minutes into the first. An umpire spins the ball back into play. Caldwell handballs to Hind, who tries to find Wright with the short kick, free kick, and he's got it at left half back.
They've obviously been a bit of a focus on Wright getting up the ground. He's had a lot of possessions on the half-back flank tonight already.
High kick looking for Baldwin, no mark taken. Front and centre is Hardwick. He's tackled once, had a chance to get rid of it. The Bombers were able to strip him, but then they turn it over. Newcomb, hand pass to Warple. Quick kick to the top of 50. It's all Bombers, though. Laverty left it for his teammate there in Reid, who goes short to Heppel. Heppel centrally. That kick's okay too to Hobbs. Hobbs goes further wide. He might turn this over. No penetration on the kick to right half back. A chance here in the end for the Hawks as Kajitsky is tackled immediately. He went to ground. He'll be pinned here holding the ball. So Essendon with a reprieve. Good follow-up by Hobbs, who got over to the contest after making the initial mistake. This time a bit safer, back inside defensive 50 to Heppel.
No, you're right, Maisie. He made the blue. It was quite easy for him to drop his head and not care about what happened, but he was able to get across and win that footy back for him.
Heppel to Reid, who kicks to the wing. It's off hands McGrath. Read it best. Now into a bit of trouble. Hand passes to Martin, who wants to kick laterally. It's a good one. Finds Bryan. Quick to dish it off to Cutler. From 70 metres to full forward. Wright brings it to ground. It's Hawthorn at the drop. Oh, they might have messed it up. Smith is in there. Caldwell as well. Now Perkins is tackled by Mitchell. And the umpire says ball up. 30 metres out from the Bombers' goal.
That was a good entry by the Bombers. I know they were outmanned, but they didn't kick it straight to the spare in Scrimshaw, who's been sitting back there for that whole entire entry there. They done well to get it over back behind his head.
Draper v. Reid in the ruck. Mitchell tried to burst through. Ball spilt to Corbell over the Bombers. Puts it to the top of the square. Sicily nudged out of it. Hawthorn with the numbers. Hardwick has to be cleaned. Heard a voice. It was Scrimshaw. Knocked it to his advantage. He's dispossessed. Baldwin with the snap. It's across the face. Sicily actually let it go. It bounced, pitched at right angles and hit the behind post. So another chance here for the Bombers. Deep inside attacking 50.
I'm not sure why you let that one go and just mark it. He thought, no, I won't mark it, I'll let it go through behind, but didn't even end up with that. Now they've got a dangerous throw-in right next to the point post.
So Bombers by 3. Ball in rather inside their forward 50. Bramble's kick smothered by Martin. Players dive on top. Umpire circles but says, give it to me. Ball up 30 metres out from Essendon's goal. Nearly 15 minutes played in this opening term. The 1 goal to Parish so far. Mitchell kicks outside defensive 50. It's picked off by Hind, who's tackled immediately, and we've got another ball up this time, 55 metres out from Essendon's goal.
Brisbane by 7 over West Coast, almost halfway through the first term there. Up at the Gabba, bringing you updates of that game all throughout this evening. Meanwhile, the Bombers try and turn this attack into some positive possession, and they are able to force the stoppage. Caldwell gets to his feet, hands the ball back to the umpire. Lynch down, shucked by Caldwell. Short kick is okay and right. Had a couple of metres on Frost. Positioning was good and he takes an easy mark. 35 out directly in front.
Well done. Oh, sorry, John. Well done by Peter Wright then, because he recognised really, really early that his player inside the stoppage was just going to turn really quickly and throw it on his boot. So he started leading before he actually got the footy.
17 goals from 7 games for Big Peter Wright, and he doesn't miss his first chance this evening. And the Bombers have the opening 2. 2 straight 12, Hawthorn 3 behind, 16 played, opening quarter on Grandstand AFL.
No, good call, Berkey. I was watching him just as the ball went up, and he was on Frost, and he was just trying to get that separation at Frost, and he was moving around. He kept his momentum going forward. He jumped to left, jumped to right, so Frost wasn't too sure what was going on. But all he had to do was just give a little 5 metre present really hard at the kicker, and Caldwell just the perfect that some players get in that position and they just kick it too hard. He just weighted that kick nicely, and Peter Wright just came straight through the ball and got it right in front of his eyes, and some strong hands there from Peter Wright, and even a great kick as well.
Let's head downstairs, Lauren.
Fans are still filing in here and taking their seats, but there's a bit of a reasonable crowd that's come in on a chilly night in Melbourne. They've definitely found their voice with the Bombers getting those 2 early goals against expectations really at the start of this match.
They've certainly started well, but again it's Hawthorn out of the middle. Lynch handballs to Morrison. Handballs backwards to Bramble. Kicks out wide, looking for Ward. Kick out a little bit too much on it. Now Heppel comes through for the Bombers, but he's escorted over the boundary line for a throw in between wing and half forward. Hawthorn into attack. They trail by 9. 17 minutes and a half played in the opening term.
Lynch gets the ball in the centre circle and the ball goes out of bounds on the wing. Just 3 useless possessions in a row from Hawthorn.
He plays this one from behind, allowed Draper to tap it to Merritt, now to Perkins by hand. He's dispossessed, could have been holding the ball. Umpire wave play on. Merritt in between 2 tacklers. The Caldwell kick inside 50 was okay, slapped away from Bryan at the last moment. He goes at it at ground level. A chance here for the Hawks though. They have numbers. Scrimshaw, long hand pass is okay to Bramble. His hand pass was a little bit too hot for Morrison as well, who fumbled out of bounds. Transition was working okay up until that point. Hawthorn trail by 9. Ball in, right half forward for the Bombers.
It's going to be interesting to see how Hawthorn really cope with this, how they respond in the next 7 minutes or so, because they're favourites coming in this game, and things aren't just working for him at the minute.
So Morrison's gang tackled by a couple of Bombers, and Perkins and Shield holding the ball. Advantage paid to Essendon as Shield scoots away and kicks to Cutler at centre half forward. The numbers stream back inside forward 50.
Yeah, that was good by Shield, but I don't know why he didn't go forward. He had one-on-ones forward.
So Cutler just has to load up and kick it to the top of the square. They fly. Ball comes to ground. Hobbs, a ground level snap, goal. Essendon, the fast start here at Docklands. 3 straight lead Hawthorn, 3 behind. 19 minutes played opening term.
Look, they got the goal, Berkey, but I think when someone of the ilk of Shield gets the ball, I expect him to hit a forward straight up, especially when there's a one-on-one scenario. But well done by Hobbs. The game, I guess the ball movement inside their forward 50 was delayed a little bit, but long to their tall targets. But one thing I like by Francis there, he was 3 deep, but almost played the ruck roll and just palmed it down, Berkey. It was beautiful, and Hobbs was front and square to finish off.
You've got Francis, you've got Brian, and you've got big Peter Wright down there. You're not going to get outmarked when you kick the ball to the top of the goal square like that. It's going to come down to the front, and Hobbs got himself in the right spot. Football isn't that complicated sometimes. You get the ball to a really dangerous spot, you have a great contest, you play the percentages. Oh, hang on, that one. There was a Hawthorn player who actually said, I touched that. It wasn't very convincing, but I reckon he might have.
We're going all the way back, so that has been completely overturned. The arc doing its job. We were actually unaware, and so was every player on the ground, that we'd even headed upstairs. Obviously, every goal gets checked, but all the way back now, and that is a behind. 2-1-13 now, Essendon. 3 behinds the Hawks after 20 minutes.
Unfortunately, that would have been Hobbs' first goal in AFL footy, and it's just been overturned. So he'll have to have a second crack at it.
They'll have to have a second crack at the celebration as well, his teammates. I hope they've got a bit left too. McGuinness, short to scrim short, right half back. So Hawthorn trailing by 10. Scrim short. High kick to the wing. Kajitsky and Callow both fly at it. None could take it. At ground level, Parrish is pushed off it. McGuinness in there as well. He's not letting it come out. Umpire lets them play and then says, I'll have it.
Mitchell only did 2 possessions so far, Berkey. That's a very quiet start for him compared to his standards.
Is there anyone going to him, Jono, or is it...
No, I don't think so. What I've looked at, Heppel's been sort of taking his body at the stoppage, but then when he's running away, he's just able to, I guess when he runs away from the stoppage, he's able to run free, but he's just not able to get in the right position to be used.
Yeah, and Hawthorn have been really haphazard in how they've used the ball. And sometimes he gets to the right spots, but they're not using the right spots.
So throwing it right half forward for Hawthorn. Draper tried to take it out of the ruck, but couldn't go with it. Bruce around the corner. Inside 50 go the Hawks. Essendon have the numbers, but Warple comes up with it. Handballs backwards to Kajitsky. Under pressure with the kick to the pocket. O'Meara rove the Callow tap down, and his kick goes across the face of goal. 4 behinds now for the Hawks. They trail Essendon 2-1-13, 21 and a half minutes played first term.
I don't think Dockland suits the Hawks. The Hawks are a running team. They're a hard running team. They like the space. They like the big MCG. They like those type of grounds, and I don't think they're suited here to Docklands.
Hawthorn's first game at Marvel Stadium this year.
Long kick behind is okay. Finds Cutler, who goes inboard to Merritt. Merritt out wide with his kick. It hung a while. Redmond had to wait for it, allow Bruce to come in and make the spoil out of bounds. In fact, he's going to win a free kick here, Bruce.
Redmond dropped the ball and then sort of threw his arms around and got Bruce tired.
So Bruce, kick inside 50. Gunston in a one-on-one. Callow got there in front of him. Callow passes inboard. Lovely underground handball to Ward, who just casually puts it at the top of the square. Lynch! Maybe this time he can have his first goal in AFL footy. He marks 20 metres out directly in front.
If I'm the Essendon players and they're fair dinkum, they'll be having a word to Big Draper. He just let his player drift in front of him, didn't play any form of defence at all, and now Lynch is lining up for what should be his second goal, but should be his first.
6th game, first goal for Max Lynch. And they do come from everywhere. Luke Bruce says, get over here. Even a few from the bench run on to congratulate him as they come on. A big celebration for Max Lynch. He has his first goal in AFL footy. First goal of the evening for the Hawks. They head to 1-4-10. Essendon 2-1-13 after 23 minutes in the opening term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL this evening, Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke.
I think what the Hawks need to do, they need to get in and get to their coaches and work out what actually is going on with this game, because they really haven't for almost most of this quarter. They haven't had a solid forward entry at all. So, and that was probably about the only decent one they had. a high ball that a big tall could go in mark. But Lynch should have been his second goal. He should have kicked the first goal a bit earlier. But I think the Hawks just need to regroup at the moment.
10 inside 50s to 8 going Hawthorn's way so far in this opening term as they win it out of the middle. Warple to Newcomb today. Kicks out wide to Impey, who's marked on the logo, dock side of the ground. Short laterally to Newcomb. Wants to wheel around and go straight down the corridor. Spears a pass to centre half forward. Reid playing in front. It spills to Bruce. His handball misses the target. Spills inside 50. Hine first there for the Bombers. Gives it to Merritt, whose handball looking for Shield. Has a fumble. Cutler comes in. Good pickup. Although he's stripped of it by O'Meara. Holding the ball, says the umpire. Good desperation from O'Meara. He's got a free kick at centre half forward for the Hawks.
Good team pressure there by the Hawks. They all chipped in.
He's handballed off to Scrimshaw. Had nowhere to go there at centre half forward, and then lovely pass inside 50 to Morrison on the lead. He's marked 40 metres out, 15 metres in from the boundary.
Gunston getting frustrated. He's doing a number of leads. He's gone for his third lead already now. But even before this forward entry, he'd been presenting and ignored a few times.
Morrison back into the side this week. Crosses the paint of 50 and lets it fly. That's a beautiful strike of the footy. Morrison's on the board and the Hawks hit the lead. 2-4-16, Essendon 2-1-13. 25 minutes played opening term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL, Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson.
I love that rundown tackle from O'Meara. Nothing better than the guy just desperate to stop the defenders running out of your forward 50 and just change the whole complexion of the game. Gets a tackle, handballs the ball off to Scrimshaw, who was initially eyeing the goals but did the right thing, didn't panic, didn't have time to get the shot off, and just found Moore, who Parrish had given too much room to on that far side of the ground. And really good finish there by Moore. Keeps this game alive, and I think the Hawks probably deserve to be 3 points up. They started well, had a bit of a poor patch through the middle, but they're finishing well.
Yeah, they are finishing the stronger in this opening term, Hawthorn. Lead at 3. Lynch up, on the ball down. Shark though by Parrish. Hand pass to a charging Redmond off half back. Kicks inside 50. Impey going back with a flight. Courageous. Stood in front of Wright, and it's on as well. Peter Wright put his knee up and went through it. He had every right to. And off the ball, Devon Smith was taken to ground. The emergency umpire's out there as well. Francis is in there.
But you're right, Maisie. It was Peter Wright was committed to that contest, and great courage by Impey there. But he was actually committed to the contest, and I don't see anything wrong with that. That's back in our days, Berkey, what used to happen. They both went up. He actually probably almost chopped his arms more than anything else, and probably got him a little bit behind the back of the head. But I thought that was just a good, genuine contest.
He could have done a lot worse than what he did.
Yes.
Yeah, he might have back in your day too, Berkey.
Absolutely. If Jono was coming behind me, I know where I'd be.
You'd take a hanger on it, probably.
Yeah, probably.
The Hawks out wide towards Gunston, who's come a long way from home on the wing. He turns and goes quickly. Kick up towards the top of 50. Callow was there. Spoiled away from him. Again. Beautiful from O'Meara. And the man of the moment, Max Lynch, runs in for his second goal from the top of the square. 2-1-13 Essendon. Hawthorn 3-4-22. The margin, a game high 9 points in favour of the Hawks.
Well, we noted him early on just pushing forward at every opportunity that he had, and he's kicked 2 and should have kicked the 3rd. And this time, I'm looking behind to where the Essendon ruck is, and it's a good 50 metres at least. So he's working hard, the young fella, and he's getting good results for it. I don't know what it is about ruckman. Maybe they're overcoming their lack of intelligence, but they're trying to be fashionable. But the 3 worst haircuts on the ground belong to the 3 ruckmen tonight. They're disgraceful.
Good call, Berkey. But Newcomb at the moment up to 11 possessions, leading the possessions on the ground. But O'Meara's had a hand in both the last goals by a tackle, what you called before, Berkey. But that there was just a simple front and square for him, and he used his skills well going forward.
So Lynch back into the middle. He's stripped of it though by Shield. It spills to Merritt. His handball misses Martin. Allows Day to come in for the Hawks. Gets the hands free to McGuinness, who gives it to Newcomb. Now handballs backwards to Day. He's got a bit of room to move. Handballs out wide to Lynch from the wing. kicks Hawthorn back into attack. A fist in there from Heppel. It'll spill to Gunston. Although he's tackled immediately by a couple of Bombers. Ball still alive. Callow. Handball's inboard to Morrison, who misses. Hawthorn, though, are hitting the scoreboard. 3-5-23 Essendon, 2-1-13. The lead is 10 points.
Long kick out, it's a turnover. McGuinness for the Hawks. Hand pass inboard to O'Meara, to Impey. Still 2 kicks from goal. Goes inside 50. Sits it on the head up very, very early was Callow. Probably could have given away a free kick there. Bombers have the numbers at ground level. Heppel to Redmond off the outside of the boot. Francis never got a run at it. Well done by Sicily. Just bodied him out of it. And a bit of umpire abuse too. Hands went out. Francis couldn't believe it. And Sicily, who's a long kick anyway, will be marched well inside 50.
That just comes back to footy smarts, where Francis thought that he had a clear run at the ball and just a little nudge by Sicily and just got him offside. And then Francis just kept complaining because he thought he got checked. I thought it was just great use of the body by Sicily.
I don't think Francis actually opened his mouth. It was just 2 arms out.
The wingspan.
Spread eagle. Yep, had the wingspan, and that was enough for the umpire.
What was the size of the fish?
Sicily kicks off a couple of steps. It was a strange run-up. Sort of ran out to the right, couple of steps. It was odd.
That's a full back shot at goal.
That was bizarre. 3-6-24. He missed it by a mile. 2-1-13 the Bombers. 30 minutes played opening term.
So Heppel brings the ball in. It's a long kick again, looking for Wright, who's floated forward. Off hands, Redmond at the fall. The ball, he's tackled, gets the handball free, but it's picked off by Sicily, who pumps it back to the goal square. Callow through his fingers across the line for another minus score. Hawthorn now 3-7-25. Essendon 2-1-13 as we tick in a time on to the first.
Should have done better again there, Sicily. He had 2 free players, but just bombed away.
Cutler bombs himself, goes to the wing, no mark taken. Chance for the Bombers at ground level. Oh, it's Frost who emerges with it. He turns it over by hand, though, to Merritt, who just blindly hand-pass back into the middle. Warple's there. There's a whistle off the ball, and it's going to go the Bombers' way to Merritt, who hand-passes immediately behind Cutler. Shocking hand-pass. Umpire has blown the whistle again, and I think it
wasn't Merritt's free kick.
Right.
It was downfield after Merritt handballed it, and the Bombers threw it back to Merritt, who played on, but it should have been downfield.
It's going to end up with Parrish in the centre square. He knows there's not long left, so he just goes as far as he can. Oh, and they all fell over in front. It fell into the bread basket of Bolton, who is 20 metres out directly in front. They all collapsed, and he was the last man standing. Sam Mitchell can't believe it.
One thing I was hoping that Parrish wasn't going to go wide, because he had a 3-man out wide on the wing, but he ran, he took his distance and then pumped it in. It was just, it was clever by them, knowing what was on the clock, and now they've got a shot on goal to go a little bit closer on the scoreboard.
Down by 2 goals at the moment. Hawthorn, fair to say, have dominated the majority of this opening term. Baldwin from 30 out directly in front. Misses. Poor miss that one from the young Bomber. Chance to get back within a goal. Instead, it's a behind. 2-2-14 the Bombers. Hawthorn 3-7-25 as we finish for the opening term here under the roof. In case you joined us or have just joined us, 5 changes, 5 late changes for the Bombers to go along with their 2 enforced changes before the game. So it is a case of the replacements at the moment, and they are down by 11 points at the end of the opening quarter. The goal kickers, Parrish had the first, Wright with another for the Bombers, and 2 goal kickers for the Hawks. Morrison with 1, and 2 to Lynch, who enjoyed a purple patch through the middle part of that opening term. You're listening to Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
The aged care sector.
Cost of living.
Young people really care about climate change.
Keep across all the election news that matters to you.
With a lineup of some of the ABC's best podcasts on the ABC Listen app.
Get in-depth reporting from podcasts like Hack,
The Party Room,
and daily coverage from Australia Votes, hosted by Melissa Clark, James Glenday and me, David Spears, as we run through the issues that matter to voters.
All the latest election news that matters to you.
With the ABC Listen app.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Baldwin just forward of centre wing. Inboard to McGrath, who has no one on him, so he can take a bounce. He gets to 55, goes inside 50, 1-2 for Perkins, not the third. Parrish was there to row front and centre, and Essendon have the first. Against the run of play, a shot of confidence for the Bombers. Shark by Corwell, short kick is okay and right. Had a couple of metres on Frost, positioning was good and he takes an easy mark. 35 out directly in front. 17 goals from 7 games for Big Peter Wright, and he doesn't miss his first chance this evening. And the Bombers have the opening too. Callow passes inboard, lovely underground handball to Ward, who just casually puts it at the top of the square. Lynch! Maybe this time he can have his first goal in AFL footy. 6th game, first goal for Max Lynch.
He's handballed off to Scrimshaw, had nowhere to go there at centre-half forward, and then lovely pass inside 50 to Morrison on the lead. Crosses the paint of 50 and lets it fly. That's a beautiful strike of the footy. Morrison's on the board and the Hawks hit the lead.
Kick up towards the top of 50. Callow was there. Spoiled away from him. Beautiful from O'Meara, and the man of the moment, Max Lynch, runs in for his second goal from the top of the square.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Welcome back to Docklands. Essendon 2-2-14, Hawthorn 3-7-25. The margin 11 points at quarter time. Andrew Mays and Jess Webster calling the action for you. Lauren Borden's on the boundary, and our experts on Grandstand AFL this evening, Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson. Gents, dissect that first term for us.
Well, I think the Hawks deserve to be in front. They started off the better. Essendon were just going far too lateral. Every time they got the footy, it was a short handball going sideways. It was like they've got this irrational fear of having to throw the ball on their foot when they're under pressure and get the ball going forward. They just muck around with it too much. Hawthorn didn't really make them pay. But then, luckily, what happened was, for the game, Essendon started to go a little bit more direct and got the ball long inside 50. They got a front and centre which was a fingertip away from being a goal. They should have got a goal right at the end there by going long and direct down the middle. Peter Wright is offering a good target down there. They've got 3 tools down there, so they need to use them. But I think at the end of the day, it was probably the directness of Hawthorn. They've taken 6 marks inside 50. They've gone inside 50 17 times to 10. Possessions are very similar, but they're using the ball far more direct, getting the ball inside 50. And I think if this continues, I think Hawthorn are going to score heavily. They've had 10 scoring shots to 4. Probably let Essendon off the hook a little bit. But at the moment, Essendon look good when they go direct, and when they don't, Hawthorn will make them pay because they'll turn the ball over in the middle of the ground, Jono.
Yeah, well, to back that up, Berkey, Hawthorn are 7+ inside forward 50s and 4+ inside forward 50 marks. So what that sort of tells you is that if they can get it forward more often than not, that they're going to mark the ball inside their forward 50. Hawthorn, they've got some good targets down there. The ruckman has been very, very impressive to me. Max Lynch, he has gone forward a couple of times and taken a couple of marks and almost should have had 3 goals this quarter rather than 2 goals, 1. He should have thought his way through the first part of it. Look, it's spot on. At very early stages, Essendon just mucking around with it. There was probably one stage in the game there where you called about 10 possessions, Jess, within a little bit of play, and they only gained 2 metres, and then finally they then kicked the ball forward and then turned it over. So what I want to see from Essendon is just penetrate, like they have done a couple of times. They've shown us, Berkey, they can actually do it, but it's just a matter of will and what the instructions are. I think some of the players have got to take it upon themselves to penetrate forward when they need to. Look, they look dangerous when they do it, Essendon, so I can't see why they want to keep going back and forth, especially when they've got that tall timber forward as well. Hawthorn, on the other hand, I think they look very good from the outset. They're a very professional team. I think they're a role team. They're a role play. A lot of them do the role play throughout all of their team. They've got a specific role that they're going to play. They're going to play it for the whole game. They get their matchups right. So I think Hawthorn at the moment, I think eventually they'll just grind over Essendon because they run, they like to use the ball, they like to spread, they like the big open spaces, and they're fast and they're quick.
The thoughts of Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke at quarter time. Meanwhile, opening stages of the second term up at the Gabba. Brisbane by 16 over West Coast. Dan McSay subbed out already with an injury. Ball will be tossed up. Back in the middle, 11 points the margin. Second term underway. Draper had one arm, although he wrenched it free of Lynch, then burst away with it. Kicked long, deep inside 50. Going back with the flight. Good spoil by Denver Granger Barras. It's out in the right forward pocket for the Bombers. A chance early.
Yeah, good start for them. That's what they need. They need to, and I loved it again. Penetrate your forward 50. Get the ball in there real quick when you know you've got one-on-ones.
Yeah, they needed to clean up centre clearances. They lost 5-1 in that first quarter.
So right against Lynch, it's a shallow throw in, favours Lynch. And just taps it to Morrison. His kick outside defensive 50. Caldwell roves it off the tap. Although Hawthorn still come up with that handball, looking for Callow. Close to the boundary line, Hine keeps it in and then chips in board. It's over the head of Martin. Coming through Heppel, just tries to tap it to advantage. Inside 50 go the Bombers. It's picked off by Lynch, who gives it to Impey, who's thrown into the turf. Umpire calls play on it, spills to Martin, left foot snap around the body, and the Bombers get the first of the second term. Hawthorn 3-7-25, Essendon 3-2-20. The margin's cut to 5, and we played a minute in the second term.
That was good. That was very good. The pressure inside the forward. You know, Impey, you could say, Berkey, that probably shouldn't have coughed that ball up so easy in the corridor, but I thought it was just a great tackle there, and the ability for Perkins just to wrap it up, because you know what Impey can do. He can take off and run and carry that ball. That was very good. But then just the poise and the composure by Nick Martin to sort of measure that goal and then just put it across his body was fantastic. But again, pushing it forward. A couple of little skill errors there by Hawthorn, but the Bombers were able to capitalise right there.
Hasn't he been a revelation for the Bombers? A rare bright spot for them in this season so far. Martin adds another to his tally. The margin is back to within 5 points. Lynch from the middle tried to wrench it free. Eventually got it to Ward. Hand pass to Morrison. Hand pass to Newcomb over the top to Warple, who's out the front side of the stoppage. Gets to 55. Low spearing ball across the face. One behind. Not able to get there was Kazitsky before it dribbled over. 3-8-26. Inaccurate the Hawks. 3-2-20 the Bombers.
Should have done better there. You're running uncontested through the middle of the ground, and your kick can't even end up in a contest with one of your forwards.
So Hine goes straight down the corridor looking for Perkins. It's through his fingers. Ball spills to Merritt inside the centre square, just dodging and weaving. And then a kick out wide has been picked off by Bramble of the Hawks, who's away from right half forward. All alone inside forward 50 is Bruce, and you cannot leave Bruce all alone inside forward 50. He marks 20 metres out, quick to play on, snap around the body, goal. That one's a coach killer. So Hawthorn moved to 4-8-32, Essendon 3-2-20, margin back out to 12, 3 minutes played second term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL, Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson.
Well, that's what Hawthorn want to do. They want to turn the ball over in the middle of the ground and go back at that Essendon defence really, really quickly. And I'm not sure what the Essendon defence were doing to allow a guy like Luke Bruce to stand 20 metres in the clear inside your forward 50. When the ball goes outside your 50, that is when you instantly expect it to come back. And you go, right, let's man up, let's get a player, let's fill the holes. Basically, they were caught spectating, and I think it was Shield in the middle of the ground who really just tried to over-create something, and it just wasn't on, and they've paid the ultimate price.
Goal apiece to start this second quarter. Tap down to Newcomb is good. He kicks a low, flat ball, top of 50. Bruce paddles it in front of himself. Hand pass was intercepted, though. Merritt, hand pass is good to Parrish. Over halfway to Smith. He takes the mark at centre half forward. Could have kept going. Instead, he has options out wide. Good kick into space. The mark is taken by Caldwell, who is drifting forward. Had a couple of runners outside of him. Caldwell will go back and have a set shot from 40 out, slight angle to the left.
It was a good running forward by Caldwell. What I'd love to see him do now is pay a little bit more attention to his opponent, who's getting a lot of the footy at the moment, and that happens to be Newcomb.
Caldwell comes in, kicks from 45, high kick, straight kick. Steadying goal for the Bombers. 4-2-26. Hawthorn 4-8-32 after 5 minutes in the second term.
Well, Newcomb's had a lot of the football at the moment. He's up to 14 possessions, and he had quite a few clearances. I've noticed that Caldwell is standing next to Newcomb at a lot of the bounces, especially the centre bounces. Newcomb's having far better at that contest. One way of getting yourself back into the game is to do one or two things. You either hurt them going back the other way and kick a goal yourself, or you shut down that player for a period of time and make it a bit more of a one-on-one battle. Personally, I prefer him to do both. Shut down Newcomb and get forward and kick a goal. So he's got a goal under his belt. Can he be defensive as well?
So we're back in the middle. Essendon 2-1 in this second term. Draper rises high and gives away the free kick for High. So Lynch to take it out of the middle. Gives it to Warple. Quick to pump it inside 50. Coming out strong was Callow, and the ball spills free. Heppel handballs to Merritt, who gives it to Parrish and back to Merritt. From centre-half back, kick out wide to Shield, who's marked defensive side of the wing.
Mitchell still only the 2 possessions as well, guys.
He stands the mark against Shield, who just kicks it high and long towards half forward. Wright has to contest it from behind. Spills to Baldwin, who gives it to Hind, who then has to play tackler. It spills to Merritt. Kick inside 50. So all the numbers favour Hawthorn as Morrison and the last line of defence chips short to Moore.
Moore, kick over the top is good to Mitchell. He heard you, Jono. Thought I'd better get one. Up to 3 possessions now, Mitchell. Hand pass to the running Moore, who takes a bounce through centre wing. Low spearing kick, almost out the back was Callow. Punched away from him into the path of Gunston, who snaps the goal. Oh, that's class for you. Totally outnumbered in the forward line, but Gunston knew where it was going from the spoil and kicks a beautiful snap in the right forward pocket. Hawthorn have their second of the second term. Margin is now back to 12 points.
Well done by Moore. I think what I've liked about him, I think that was more out in that far wing, is that he's putting the ball under his arm and actually running and taking the grass in front of him and taking this game on. Kicks the ball forward. Well done by Nick Bryant. Got back, got the fist, but unfortunately it just fell almost in Gunston's lap. But they again, Berkey, that was only one option of 3. They had 3 forwards back there, Hawthorn, against 1 defender of Essendon. So at the moment, Essendon trying to play that high defence and press up. But when that ball gets turned over on your half-forward flank, you've got to be able to get back quick. And they haven't got those mechanisms in place at the moment. But Gunston, great goal.
It's a goal for goal in this second term. We're out to an equal game-high 12 points. This umpire's plucked out a free kick. It's going to Bryan in the middle of the ground for the Bombers.
It's 2 in a row, ruck free kicks, and every single player stands there and says, OK, which way are you pointing? Because we've got no idea.
Flares it out wide to Shield. He's marked on the edge of the centre square and wants to use the corridor. Runs in board and then sends it high and long and right. Presents and marks. 30 metres out from goal.
It's poor defence there by Hawthorn. You can't let a guy who's 7 foot tall just run with no body contact on him at all. And that's exactly what Hawthorn did. I think it was Scrimshaw initially. You can't let a guy, because he jumps 3 foot in the air, sticks his arms up. No one's punching the ball when he's 12 foot in the air.
So not a great angle of difficulty for Wright as he comes in and pops that one through for his second of the night. And the Bombers again close the gap. It's Hawthorn 5-8-38, Essendon 5-2-32. 9 minutes played second term.
Dylan Shield, well done. Well done. Got the ball outside. I know it was from a free kick that came out from a ruck, but he's seen that the inside of the corridor was open and he could take a bit of grass. He ended up gaining about 30 to 40 metres by sort of carrying it inside the corridor and then getting it deep and putting Scrimshaw under a little bit of pressure. That's what I want to see from Essendon. They've got tall timber down there. They've got guys that can mark the ball. Aaron Francis, we know, can get up there and take a great contested mark. Now you've got Peter Wright down there as well. Don't be afraid to get the ball in there long and quick.
Halfway through the second term at the Gabba, a 28-point lead in favour of the Lions over West Coast. Back in the middle, though. Bryan knocks it out towards the wing. Hawks are able to gather, though, through Warple. Hand pass to Bramble, who just got a little bit of a space on his opponent, then kicks. Callow lost his footing, took the mark on his knees. He can now kick long inside 50. Large fly from Laverde. He looked like the only one who was going to mark that. Spilled it at the last moment. Now a chance for Mitchell. Threads the hand pass to Kaczynski. Snap to the goal square. Bruce tried the impossible. Swung his boot at it. And it rebounds straight to McGrath. McGrath comes bursting out of defence. Wright takes the strong mark. Again, way up the field. Left half back.
He's got no one to kick it to now though. He's got to slow it all down.
So chips in board. It's a dangerous kick looking for Parrish, but it's picked off by Moore, who sends it inside 50. Wright's floated back, got fingertips to it, couldn't bring down the mark. Handballs to Hind. His kick partially smothered by Gunston. Then Hind tackles him to the ground. The umpire says,
he was
"You're
chicken,
gone."
He was chicken winged. He couldn't do much about it. He had, well done by Hind, I think it was, just wrapped his arm up and put it behind him and then had the ball and his momentum was going forward. It was almost like a face plant at the same time for the listeners there. It was quite strange, but a good tackle.
So Hind chips short this time. Finds Parrish on the lead, who swings it laterally to McGrath. He kicks further out wide to Cutler, who's got it at right half back.
Cutler, short kick, is okay. Martin takes the mark, wants to go quickly, further afield, and that's okay too to Hobbs, who goes short himself. They've worked this nicely to right half forward. Shield takes the mark.
Top of the square again. Go.
And that's where he does go, Berkey. Long and deep. The Flyers are there. Wright couldn't get a run at it. Running front and centre was Parrish. Hand pass to Smith. He turned tackler in the end. Walk will kick out wide, and the mark is taken by McGrath. He was slung off his kick, and it ended up going at right angles. A snap in the end, and McGrath can kick from 45-degree angle to the right.
Well, from Shield putting that ball in there actually forces the Hawthorn defence to actually defend and puts them under a little bit of pressure, and that's what it was. They kept the ball in there and they forced this turnover.
For consecutive goals for the first time in this second term, poor kick was always missing to the right. One behind. 5-3-33 the Bombers, 5-8-38 the Hawks after 12 minutes in this second quarter.
Hawks quick to bring it back in through Frost. Long kick out wide to Newcomb, who kicks down the line to Moore, is marked in front of the interchange gates. Risky kick into the corridor. And that comes off though. Ward is marked on the logo. Low ball inside 50 over the head of Bruce. Out the back, Laverde for the Bombers is tackled to the ground by McDonald. And we've got a ball up inside 50 for Hawthorn. 30 metres out from goal. As the ruckman tangle spills to Laverde, he just hacks it out of the danger zone. It's a high kick towards half back, and the umpire's found a free kick going Essendon's way to Perkins.
Perkins, left half back. 13 played, second term, margin 5 points in favour of the Hawks. He flares it out wide. Shield was looking for the 50, faked the hand pass, and Morrison stepped. Umpire then panicked and called play on, so Shield just had to pop it to left half forward. Baldwin's knocked off it by Frost. It spills over for a boundary throw-in.
Well, the player on the mark actually was standing and then ran backwards. So I think the umpire was a little bit perplexed about the rule as well.
Ball to be thrown back into play.
I told you it's a dumb rule, Maisie.
That's the first one out the window for you, isn't it? Once you take over from Gill. Draper sharks it out of the ruck, then kicks a snap towards the top of the square. It's fisted across the face of goal and out next to the right behind post. Ball to be tossed back into play. Essendon trail by 5 points halfway through this second term.
This is good by the Bombers. Repeat entries, a couple of shots on goal now. They need to capitalise right here in this forward stoppage.
So the two mullets in Lynch and Bryan to contest this throw-in. Spills to McGuinness and handballs backwards to Scrimshaw and then to Granger Barras. Hugged against the boundary line. Exits defensive 50 in front. Cutler couldn't bring down the mark. Moore, Kaczynski, handball inboard to Walker. Wasn't a good one, but it does come off. Newcomb back to Moore. He kicks to half forward. Bruce one way. Laverde the other, who gives the fend off. And then a blind kick around the corner. Tumbles towards the wing. There's a Bomber down behind play. Mitchell Gutters tackled to the ground by Perkins. Ball spills out. Free kick. Hawthorn's way. Going to McGuinness. So it's Shield who's off the ball in the hands of the trainers as McGuinness. Quick to play on. Handballs to Scrimshaw. Handballs over the top to Impey. Tries to get around Heppel, goes backwards to Scribshaw from the wing. Short kick to O'Meara.
O'Meara pauses as Shield limps off. He's pretty disappointed, shaking his head. We get an update from Lauren downstairs shortly. He goes inboard, O'Meara. Finds Hardwick to Granger Barras, centre half back. He flares it out wide to Frost. Pokes the kick over the top. Ward had to leave it in the end for Morrison, who turns and goes inside 50. McDonald's all on his own. Takes it in the right forward pocket. 40 out from goal.
Well, the Essendon defenders were too worried about just getting back in numbers rather than actually saying, yeah, I'm back, I'm going to actually pick up a player. Just because you've got a lot of players around you, there's still holes, and good football teams will exploit those holes.
Connor McDonald a late in after Chad Wingard was a late out due to illness. Was due to play his 200th tonight, Chad Wingard. So McDonald kicks long, kicks straight. That never looked like missing. The moment it left his boot, straight through the middle, and Hawthorn have their sixth. The margin back to 11 points in favour of the Hawks. McDonald's first of the evening.
You're right, Berkey, and I reckon one of the rules that when you're playing down back is the backs play on their men, and if the ones that are zoning off are your wingers or your midfielders that are zoning off, and I looked down there and a lot of their backs were zoning off as well as their midfield, so no real accountability down there, but to Hawthorn's credit, they just thought their way through it, used it smart, and they have used it smarter going forward a lot more than what Essendon have at the moment. Look, it's been promising by Essendon, but at the moment it's just looking a little bit more weighted on the Hawthorn side, the way they're using the ball going forward.
Said downstairs, Lauren.
Shield was in a whole lot of pain when he came off. He just slumped on the mat, put his hand over his face, and it looks like he's really favouring the left ankle. So back sitting on the bench now, but shaking his head a little bit, doesn't look too happy.
So Alistair Lord, the sub for Essendon, the debutant, might have to come into the game as from the middle, Newcombe slips a couple of would-be tacklers and then handballs inboard to O'Meara. Has a bounce in the middle of Docklands from centre-half forward. What a great kick going inside 50. Laverty playing in front, gathers. Handballs to Merritt, who gives it to Parrish. Handball out wide to Heppel. Then handballs further out wide to Ham. Handballs forward to Hobbs from the interchange gates. Close against the boundary. Kicks towards half forward. Oh, well done out the back, Sicily. Although his handballs put Granger Barras under pressure, he manages to get the hands free and gives it back to Sicily, who kicks towards half forward where Lynch marks.
Lynch wants to go himself. Kick was poor to McGuinness, all the way over his head and out of bounds at right half back. They have the outnumber there too, with McDonald running shotgun. So unfortunately for Hawk supporters, an opportunity lost off half back. Margin 11 points. We've played 17 minutes in this second term. Toss back into play. Lynch from behind. Draper in front. Shark by O'Meara. He's dispossessed. Newcombe, underground handball, turns it over. Essendon's way now through Hind. High kick. Perkins just had to sit and wait for it. Wood was the spoiler. Newcombe in to mop up for the Hawks. Hand pass out the back is good to McGuinness. McGuinness off one step, goes to right half forward. No mark taken. Heppel's able to read it off the pack. Kick towards centre half forward. High ball. Morrison, great one-hander. Juggling effort in the end. Great defensive mark.
Flares it out wide to Impey, who's marked in a bit of space at left half back. They lead by 11 points. 18 minutes played second term as Impey goes back to Morrison at centre half back. Chip short to O'Meara inside the centre square and wants to flare it out to the other side where McGuinness is waiting. Marks true centre wing position. Kicks towards half forward. Lynch out on the lead is fisted away by Draper. Coming through Zerk Thatcher. He's thrown to the turf. And the umpire says, I'll have a ball up 60 metres out from Essendon's goal. Close to the boundary. And again, we just see a bit of push and shove happening.
Again, Lynch has really dragged Draper forward, coming out of that forward 50. And because he's already kicked two, Draper can't afford to let him go.
Lynch down to O'Meara. His kick inside 50 is intercepted by Heppel, who takes it on his chest. Heppel in the left back pocket. Bombers trail by 11 points. Holds things up for a moment, then goes long. Right the target, ran underneath it on that occasion. Day spilt the way of Impey, who off one step kicked straight back to Heppel, and we're back where we started, inside defensive 50 for the Bombers.
Yeah, the Hawks have got them all squeezed. They're pushing up and they're trying to keep them on that side of the ground. They're trying to prevent them from switching the ball or coming through the corridor at the moment, the Hawks.
So Heppel short to Parrish on the 45, who chips short to Caldwell. Kicks laterally to Cutler, who's marked on the dockside wing. Handball over the top to Hine. Delivers a pass to half forwards, a good one. Ham in space, 55 from home, 10 metres in from the boundary. Plenty of numbers inside 50. So kicks it to a dangerous position. Francis. This time presents and marks 30 metres out directly in front.
Well, the Hawks defence didn't know who to go with. Wright, Draper, or Bryant was down there as well, and then as well as Francis. So they had 4 talls down there, and they're a little bit unsure where to go. And look, he got the separation away from Scrimshaw again. And look, Scrimshaw looks like the one that they're going to try to target at the moment, because he's had a couple of contested marks taken on him in this forward 50.
He needs to care less about getting the footy and stopping his player from getting it.
One of 5 late changes for the Bombers tonight. Francis waltzes in, makes no mistake, and kicks his first of the evening. Hawthorn 6'8", 6'8", Essendon 6'3", 39. Again, the leaders cut to 5 points as we tick into time on of the second quarter. Before we hear from Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson, Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Shields just ran on back onto the field, just had his mouth guard, told him to change short. He was right to go on, so it was in a fair bit of pain, but looks to be moving all right at the moment.
So a couple of times now, Berkey, they've actually penetrated that, I guess, that goal front, if you want to call it that, a couple of times now, and their forwards have been able to get themselves in a position to actually get their mitts up and take it. You've got to have confidence in Wright and Francis. They are real, genuine forwards that can take marks over their head.
Especially when you've got defenders. There's a big difference between good players who play in defence and good defenders. Scrimshaw is a good player who plays in defence. He's not a good defender.
30 points the margin up north in favour of the Lions as well. Back here under the roof. Another chance as Essendon come out of the middle. Parrish left foot kick is okay to Baldwin. Paddles it in front of himself, then lost control. Scrimshaw's in there for the Hawks. He's tackled quickly. Umpire says I'll have it. 50 out from the Bombers' goal. They're just starting to press here, Essendon. No one has kicked consecutive goals yet in this second term. Mitchell sharks the tap. Right foot kick to the wing. Beats a couple of players. Heppel there to mop up for the Bombers. Was looking for the 1-2 with Hobbs, who instead had to go backwards. Laverty. High kick to left half forward. Draper forced to just tap it down. Lynch, rather nonchalantly, left foot snap over the top is okay. Smart by Kajitsky to tap it to the advantage of Mitchell, who backtracks with the handball to Warple. His kick is smothered. Bounce back to him. He ran out of space. Hand pass to Mitchell, and he's tackled over the boundary line and out of bounds left half forward. The energy just seems to go up here from the Essendon crowd as their boys on the field are putting a lot of pressure on themselves. Good forward press at the moment.
Umpire spins the ball back into play. Draper palms it down to Merritt, who evades traffic nicely and then pokes it into the pocket. Francis has a couple to beat. Going back, Day takes the good mark in front in the right back pocket for Hawthorn. Handballs to Scrimshaw, who kicks out to the outer side, and Bramble marks just inside the boundary line. So left half back, chips short and finds Hardwick.
Important for us to get the next one here. They've just got to try and slow this game up, close up all the options here for Hawthorn so they can't come through the corridor here and actually get a repeat inside forward 50.
So Bramble goes backwards to Granger Barras, who kicks it back out to left half back where Scrimshaw marks.
Scrimshaw, piercing ball is good and strong hands by O'Meara. Right in front of Laverty. Just backward of centre wing. O'Meara kicks a high ball. It's going to be difficult to mark that at the last minute. Callow, and then Lynch has floated forward again out the back, just dropped the mark at the last moment. Will it be a free? It is. No, it's against. I thought it might have been going to Lynch in front on contact. Instead it went against McGuinness, and the free kick is to be taken by Hobbs, top of his defensive goal square.
A little bit of inexperience there by Lynch. All he needed to do was take one step forward into the oncoming defender, and he's got another shot for goal.
He draws a free kick, doesn't he, Berkey?
Yeah.
So Hobbs Kicks outside offensive 50, but it's intercepted by Bramble, who pumps it back into attack and floating forward. And taking the mark is Moore, 45 out from goal, slide angle to the left.
Well, him and McGuinness could have raffled that off. They were both there. And McGuinness obviously seen Moore coming from the side and just sort of pulled out. He's had a good night, McGuinness, so far. He's had he's up to 11 possessions. He's done a great job last week on the wingman out there with the Ds.
So 7 goals kicked in the second term. But this is the first time we've seen consecutive goals as Moore trots in and slots his first for the night. No, I am wrong. That's 8 goals. Still yet to see consecutive goals from either side, but Hawthorn back out to an 11-point lead. 7-8-50, Essendon 6-3-39, 25 minutes played second term.
Well, that's 8 marks inside 50 for the Hawks. They took 6 in the first, only 2 in this quarter, but they're uncontested marks going inside forward 50. And again, that was just a bit of a hack kick forward. It went high, and there should have been plenty of time for the Essendon defenders or even their midfielders to get back and spoil that one, but just couldn't do it. Just shows that they don't switch on to defence fast enough. Their mindset is still, how can I get the footy, how can I get the footy? And sometimes that split second is all it takes for you to go, oh, I need to defend, and suddenly your opponent's having a shot for goal.
Brian v. Lynch in the ruck, poor bounce, this will be recalled. So the margin is 11 points in favour of the Hawks. Tossed up this time. Lynch rises. Brian went again. Tap down to Parrish, who somehow got a boot to ball. Turned over though. Hand pass from Newcombe to Lynch. Snap inside 50. Getting separation was Reid. Then he came in too high as the tackler. A little bit unlucky. And it's going to be a free kick to Kajitsky, who is coming out hard. And he'll line up from about 35 out, slide angle to the left.
Just over-committing there. He knew straight away. It sort of just slid up, and he then tried to let go of it, but it was too late. The umpire was in a great position to see that.
Key defender, 202 centimetres. That's a bit harder for him to get down quickly. Kajitsky now with a chance to string together 2 in a row. From 35, kicks it and liked at the moment it left his boot. Hawthorn have 8. And a game-high lead of 17 points. A couple of minutes left in this first half. Kajitsky has his first of the evening, and the Hawks just doing some nice things at the end of this second quarter.
It's 11-4 centre clearances in favour of the Hawks. I think Lynch is doing a really, really good job of putting the ball in the right areas. And it just looks to me that the way Hawthorn saying, right, we want the ball to go into this area, and their smalls get there first, and when they get their hands on it first, there's another one riding shotgun to actually dish the ball off to. Their setups around this centre bounce has been far superior than Essendon's.
Well, Jai Newcombe, 21 possessions. He's had the 4 clearances, Berkey, so he's getting on the end of them quite a bit tonight.
So back in the middle, Brian just gets boot to ball after he took it out of the ruck, but that's holding the ball. Free kick going to Warple. Is quick to dish it off to Day. Runs through the centre and delivers inside 50. Out the back, Gunston. How was that not touched?
A good smart body use again by Gunston. He had his play on his right shoulder at the last second, just gave him a nudge and ended up taking an uncontested mark out the back.
30 metres out from goal, 45-degree angle to the right. Gunston's already kicked 1 in this quarter for 3 in a row to the Hawks. Hits the post. 8-9-57, Essendon 6-3-39, 29 minutes played second term.
Just the 5 possessions for Gunston, but 5 score involvements. When he's got the footy, good things have happened, except for that one.
Redmond trots into the right back pocket, then kicks as far as he can. Wright was the target, over the top of him. Now a chance for the Hawks, who again have numbers at ground level. Scrimshaw looking for the hand pass backwards, gets it to Day, one way then the other, then a risky kick, back inside defensive 50, Sicily forced to spoil, Impey, hand pass to Sicily, now to Ward, loops it over the top to Scrimshaw, out further wide to Day, didn't want to go backwards this time, and he got run down. Merritt got him from behind, And he wants to go quickly, Merritt. Turns the ball over, goes inside 50. Not a bad effort either. Francis is onto it. Hand pass to Shield off the right boot. Sprays it out of bounds on the full. Handy climax at the end of this second term for the Bombers. Couldn't quite make day pay. And the margin is still 3 straight kicks, half an hour played.
They deserve the goal there, Essendon. They worked so hard to keep that ball in.
Granger Brass. Long kick outside defensive 50, off hands. Spills to Morrison, who just screws it around the corner. It's dribbling down the wing. Laverty out in front. It's squatted over the line by Gunston. Throw in right in front of the interchange gates on this dock side of the ground. It's Hawthorn by 18. Half an hour played second term.
Ball will be thrown back into play. Ruckman assemble. Bryan from behind, down through Caldwell's legs. Parrish, hand pass out the back of the stoppage is okay. Inboard goes Redmond with his kick to Martin, who thought about the hand pass, drew the opponent. Now to Cutler, who can go long. Piercing kick, lands at the top of the square. No mark taken by Wright. Will he get a free? No. Essendon fans wanted one. Hawks come away with it. Moore. Kick out wide is okay. Newcomb wants to go immediately. He takes it at right half back. Takes a bounce. Runs the boundary line. Pulls his kick intelligently back into the middle. McDonald takes the mark. Half time. The siren beat him as he went to Warple, who got to the top of 50 and kicked the goal anyway. Hawks fans celebrate, but unfortunately it was just a tad too late. Entertaining second term where we were goal for a long time until the Hawks strung a couple together at the end. 8-9-57 Hawthorn at half-time. Essendon 6-3-39. The margin 18 points. Goal kickers for the Hawks. 2 to Lynch, including his first in AFL footy. And singles to Morrison, Moore, Gunston, Bruce, Kajitsky and McDonald. Meanwhile for the Bombers, 2 to Wright. And singles to Parrish, Caldwell, Francis and Martin. An entertaining opening half of football. In case you're just joining us too, 5 late changes for the Bombers, in addition to the 2 they were forced to make on Thursday night due to injury. So it has been quite a dramatic build-up to this. In case you were tuning in for Chad Wingard's 200th game as well, he was a late out too with illness. So it definitely has been carnage at the selection table. But an 18-point lead at the major break for the Hawks. Your experts on Grandstand AFL tonight to dissect it all in that opening half, Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson.
Yeah, well, what I liked about the Bombers there was their ability to actually run and carry the ball through the middle of the ground and actually then penetrate the ball inside forward 50. Not only did they get the ball inside their forward 50, they're still down a little bit in terms of numbers inside forward 50. They're still down by 11 compared to Hawthorn. But what they were able to do is get it to the goal front and actually give some of their key forwards an opportunity to take the ball at the highest point. We had Francis down there and we had Big Peter Wright at the same time, and I really, really liked how they went about it. I was very, very conscious early in the piece in the first quarter about how they were just mucking around with the ball laterally going backwards, but I think they've changed their tune a little bit and gone forward. I know they're a little bit behind on the scoreboard, but still I like the way they've gone about it. Hawthorn, on the other hand, they look good going forward. They've got they've got very good ball users. They've got forwards presenting up at them at various different times. Like Essendon defenders are zoning off and not being accountable. So I think they need to tighten that up, Essendon. But in terms of Hawthorn, I think they'll be happy the way they've gone in. They probably should go in a little bit more, Berkey, with probably a goal or 2 in front more than what they are. But I think at the moment they certainly look like the better team. I think their speed, when they get the ball and they run and carry the ball, they just look a little bit more polished than the Bombers.
Yeah, inside 50s, 33 to 22 in favour of the Hawks. They're winning contested possessions by 16, uncontested possessions by 32. The only stat that the Bombers are winning is tackles, which is good for the Bombers. They're 9 ahead there, which is pleasing for them. But 10 marks inside 50 to the Hawks to 7 to the Bombers. And when you've got Francis down there, when you've got Wright down there and Bryan down there and Draper's pushing forward, they need to take more marks inside 50 if they're going to actually be competitive in this game. Hawthorn look really dangerous when they manage to turn the ball over through the middle of the ground and get the ball back, because the Essendon defenders just don't reset. They ball watch when the ball comes out of their defensive area, and if they want to muck around with the ball across that 50 middle third of the ground, they'll get scored against heavily. When they don't muck around with it and they actually go quickly and they go direct, they actually look dangerous. So hopefully the coaches inside at halftime are saying to Essendon, we're going to play into Hawthorn's hands if we muck around with the ball inside this middle third of the ground. When we go quickly and get the ball to Francis and Wright, it was funny down there, then Wright should have had a mark in top of the goal square. Francis was the one who actually spoiled him, and he did turn around and give him a mouthful, and that mouthful continued as they walked off the ground at half-time because, 12 points down at half-time, that's probably okay for Essendon considering they're being beaten around other parts of the ground. As we mentioned, centre clearances 12-4 in favour of the Hawks. They need to sharpen that area up. Draper hasn't been his usual self. I think Lynch is on top of him today in this game with Lynch with those two first quarter goals. Probably should have had one in that quarter as well. So he's pushing forward and becoming a really dangerous player for the Hawks. So, look, the game style and game plan is there for either team to win this game. It's which team can be more efficient and effective using that ball through the middle of the ground to get the ball into their forward line, because I think both forward lines are good enough to get on top if they get really good supply.
Just one question before we head to the news, Berkey. One from Tim from Wodonga off the SMS. Says the Bombers look like, to me, they're applying more pressure and making more tackles. I know that you said they've tackled pretty well. That must be a really pleasing aspect for Ben Rutten and his team, because that was one area that they needed to work on coming out of last week's disappointment.
Yeah, they've been woeful at tackling. And what I'm watching for in particular is, if you can imagine the centre circles all around the ground, Essendon are okay at that centre circle, that really close one. The ones on that outside centre circle, what most of their players do traditionally is they're all standing out there waiting for the ball to come to them, thinking, I can get the ball. Good teams, what they do is those players, they read the cues and they're switching between, I can get the ball, no, I need to tackle. I can get the ball, no, I need to tackle. Essendon don't make that switch. To them, it's all, how can I get the ball on this outside?
Right.
Tonight, what I think they're doing is they're tackling their handball receiver better than what they've done. And if they want a team who does that perfectly, watch Fremantle. They're the best in the league at tackling that handball receiver. So tonight they've been a little bit better at that outside circle, and I think it's paying off for them, though they can get better at it as well.
So the Hawks by 18 at the major break here under the roof. Up at the Gabba, it's the Lions by 29 over West Coast, who've had two scoring shots in the first half. They're 1-goal to the Lions, 5-6-36. The big news there, though, Dan McStay subbed out in the opening quarter with an ankle injury. So we'll keep an eye on that one for you through the rest of the evening. Don't forget you can get in touch as well anytime you like, 0437 774 774. Now, though, time for the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. Opposition leader Anthony Albanese has responded to the Foreign Minister's meeting with her Solomon Islands counterpart, saying it's about time. It's the first time the ministers have met in person since a security agreement was signed between China and the Solomon Islands. In a statement, Marise Payne says she again outlined Australia's deep concerns about the pact, including the lack of transparency. Mr Albanese says Shadow Foreign Minister Penny Wong should have been given the option of attending.
It's about time. I would have thought it would have been appropriate. I don't know the circumstances of whether Marise Payne invited the Shadow Foreign Minister, given we're in caretaker mode. That would have been the appropriate course of action. I'm not aware of whether that happened or not.
Labor frontbencher Bill Shorten has tested positive to COVID-19 just 2 weeks before Australians head to the polls. Mr Shorten's one of several Labor frontbenchers who've had coronavirus during the election campaign. Mr Shorten's posted on social media that he'll be out of isolation for the final week of campaigning. 50 more civilians have left the Azovstal steelworks in Mariupol thanks to a joint operation by the UN and the International Red Cross. More are believed to still be trapped in the Soviet-era tunnels and bunkers beneath the sprawling facility. Ukrainian soldiers have accused Russian forces of breaching a ceasefire. There's also been pleas from the families of Ukrainian soldiers who are still fighting, including this woman Svetlana, who's begging world leaders to help her save her only son.
It's horrible. Horrible to know that your son is fighting and has nothing left to fight with in a city that is completely razed to the ground and seized by the occupiers. I would give everything in exchange for him to survive, for everyone who is still there under the bombardment to survive.
The Palestinian Red Crescent say 7 Palestinians have been wounded in clashes with Israeli forces in the occupied West Bank. The Israeli military says Palestinians threw rocks and petrol bombs at soldiers who responded. The clashes occurred as Israeli security forces demolished a floor of a house of an alleged Palestinian assailant near the city of Jenin. There have been 19 new deaths from coronavirus in New South Wales in the latest reporting period. There were 11,671 new cases of COVID-19. There have been 1,481 people in hospital with COVID in New South Wales. 54 are in intensive care. WA Health has recorded 6 historic COVID-related deaths dating back to April 28th. The news comes as the state records 9,243 new cases of COVID. There are currently 275 people in hospital with the virus, including 11 in intensive care. That takes the total number of COVID deaths reported today in Australia to 41. One man's under police guard in a Queensland hospital and another is on the run after shots were fired at police in Toowoomba yesterday. Here's Elizabeth Cramsey.
The shots were fired from an allegedly stolen vehicle in Harristown at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Police returned fire and the vehicle sped off, but a short time later, a man presented at Toowoomba Hospital with gunshot wounds. He remains under police guard. No charges have been laid. One other man is still on the run. No police officers were injured in the incident and the Ethical Standards Command is investigating.
Real estate industry leaders say it should be business as usual at auctions and open inspections across the country this weekend, despite this week's interest rate rise. Here's Evelyn Mansfield.
This is the first weekend since the Reserve Bank increased the interest rate by 25 basis points that home buyers and sellers will head to auctions and open inspections. Executive Director of the South Australian Housing Industry Association, Stephen Knight, says historically interest rates have been much higher.
They are modest and thankfully in South Australia our mortgages are lower than in the eastern states.
But the latest figures from the Office of the Valuer General show house prices in Adelaide are rising. The median house price has increased by 25% in the 12 months to March to $650,000.
And Gold Coast has again beaten Sydney at the SCG, upsetting its more fancied opponents by 14 points in round 8 of the AFL. Suns forward Isaac Rankins kicked 2 goals as Gold Coast scored 10-15-75 to the Swans 8-13-61. At the MCG, Richmond forward Tom Lynch kicked 6 goals as the Tigers defeated traditional Melbourne rivals Collingwood by 27 points. Richmond star Dustin Martin made a successful return to the field, kicking 2 goals and getting 23 disposals. ABC News.
It's happening. Australia votes on the 21st.
Hi, Sabra Lane here. I'm the presenter of AM. I honestly believe it is something to celebrate in Australia. Many of us do take voting for granted. So many other people in so many other countries don't get that opportunity or to do it peacefully. The fact that we can do it peacefully, I think that's something to celebrate.
Get accurate, impartial information on your ABC radio or head to abc.net.au/Australia votes. Election news that matters to you on the ABC.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season. Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Picked off by Lynch, who gives it to MP, who's thrown into the turf. Umpire calls play on it, spills to Martin, left foot snap around the body, and the Bombers get the first of the second term. Picked off by Bramble of the Hawks, who's away from right half forward. All alone inside forward 50 is Bruce, and you cannot leave Bruce all alone inside forward 50. He marks 20 metres out, quick to play on, snap around the body, goal. That one's a coach killer.
Merritt, hand pass is good to Parrish, over halfway to Smith. He takes the mark at centre half forward. Could have kept going, instead he has options out wide. Good kick into space. Allrook comes in, kicks from 45, high kick, straight kick. Steadying goal for the Bombers. Low spearing kick, almost out the back was Callow. Punched away from him, into the path of Gunsthrough, snaps the goal. Oh, that's class for you.
Plenty of numbers inside 50. So kicks it to a dangerous position. Francis. This time presents and marks 30 metres out directly in front. One of 5 late changes for the Bombers tonight. Francis waltzes in, makes no mistake, and kicks his first of the evening.
Separation was Reed, then he came in too high as the tackler. And it's going to be a free kick to Kajitsky, who is coming out hard from 35. Kicks it like at the moment it left his boot. Hawthorn have 8. A game-high lead of 17 points.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Welcome back to Docklands at half-time, where Essendon 6-3-39 trail the Hawks 8-9-55. A pretty entertaining first half of footy. In case you're just joining us as well, 5 late changes for the Bombers. It was quite dramatic before the opening bounce. Bit of illness going through the Essendon camp over the last couple of days. So Ridley, Kelly, Guelphy, Waterman, Durham all came out of the starting 22. And Ham, Baldwin, Zerk, Thatcher, Francis, Smith came in, and Alistair Lord is on debut as the medical sub. So there was carnage everywhere. From a Hawthorn point of view, Chad Wingard missed out on his 200th appearance tonight. Hopefully he'll be back next week. He was late out with illness, and the man to come in was Connor McDonald. So plenty of drama before the bounce, plenty of drama in that opening half of footy. Andrew Mays and Jess Webster calling the action for you this evening. Our experts on Grandstand AFL tonight, Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke, and Lauren Borden is on the boundary. Just to update you on a few of the other scores from today, a pretty convincing win in the end for the Tigers. 27-point winners over Collingwood. Final score there was 17-11, 113 to the Pies, 12-14, 86. Dustin Martin kicking goal on his return. The big shock of the day came through the middle period, where Sydney went down at home to the Gold Coast Suns. 8-13, 61 Sydney. The Suns with a very good victory on the road. 10 goals, 15, 75. The major possession winner there, Fiorini with 29 and Ellis with 26. But they played out that last quarter with a lot of contested footy. Kept it down the right end, and the Suns able to close out with the victory. And Geelong, 53-point winners over almost a disappointing Giants in the end. 12-16, 88 to the Giants, 4-11-35. The pressure, no doubt, will continue to build on Leon Cameron. 5 goals for Jeremy Cameron, and his good form continues. Up at the Gabba, just started in the third quarter. It's the Lions by 29 points over the Eagles. As I've mentioned a couple of times, though, the big story there, another key position tacker down for the Lions, with Dan McStay going down with an ankle injury. He was subbed off in the first quarter. Hopefully it's not too serious. Under the roof here, though, Hawthorn 18-point leaders over Essendon at the major break. I'll put you in the Essendon room here, Jono. What are you saying to the troops at halftime?
Continue what you're doing. Continue what you're doing. Keep, and I think you mentioned a Perky around Draper. If they can get Draper into the game somehow and drift forward and kick a couple of goals, or even we know he can have influence around the ground as well by getting in, using his body. I think if they can add him into the game, or him get involved some way or another, I think it adds something to him. I think their tools at the moment forward are going very, very well. But what I've liked is the ability for Merritt and Parrish at the moment. They're getting contested possession, so I like them getting in and under, and they're actually going forward, where I reckon at various different times when they've had the ball, they've probably started the chain of laterally going backwards, and I reckon the group feed off that. And once the group sort of realises that, okay, Dars is going forward, Zach is going forward as well, we're going to go forward every time we get the opportunity. So, and as I said before the game, I know they've been riddled with, as you said, riddled with some illness coming through, but I think this is a positive coming out of the Essendon Football Club at the moment tonight. They look much better going forward. They just don't look like they're mucking around with the ball, and it's probably putting some fresh blood in there that probably haven't played this brand of footy. And sometimes you get caught and you get pigeonholed and you stay within that, and it becomes a stigma. I reckon this group tonight for Essendon, they're actually playing good football. It's just a couple of few mistakes here or there that have killed them within the first quarter and the second quarter, where they've turned the ball over in the middle of the ground and the defence have been caught out. So, that's not the defence's fault somewhat, but they've got to make sure that they're going to defend at some stage. But I reckon it's a massive tick for Essendon so far. They would like to be in front. They would like to be closer on the scoreboard. But I think Essendon supporters should be pretty happy the way they've performed tonight with all the stuff that's happened before the game.
Berkey, can they do it for another half?
Well, they have to if they're going to be a half-decent side. They're not playing against Melbourne here. They're playing against the Hawks. So you'd think that they could. But just watching Sam Frost here for the Hawks, he's come back out and he's got the right knee taped up. They're doing some sprints through the middle of the ground, and it's taken him a little bit of time to actually get some momentum up. So if he can't play as that big, tall, spoiling defender, well, I'd be bombing the ball down there to Wright and Francis and Brian and these blokes as often as I could.
He knocked that really early, just late, about 20 seconds ago into that last quarter. Berkey, I was watching, and he didn't want to try and contest anything. He was just letting players around him contest the ball rather than him actually get into it. So it'd be interesting to watch him.
Yeah, when watching this second half, Lauren Borden will be all over it downstairs for us. Half-time here, 8:09:57, the Hawks. Essendon 6:39 with a bit of work to do at the major break. All the players are out and ready. Dylan Shield will start on the bench. Had a couple of pairs of boots with him as well. So, of course, came off and didn't look too good with that ankle injury in the second quarter. But good news is he's back and okay and played a couple of important roles late in that second term. So, one to keep an eye on in terms of how he runs out this game as well. They need all the experience they can get at the moment, the Bombers, considering the changes before the game. Back in the middle, the second half on Grandstand AFL. Here's Jess Webster.
So 3 goals the margin, the Hawks' way. What can Essendon produce in this second half? The bounce favours Lynch in the middle. Down to Mitchell, fires out the handball to O'Meara, who goes backwards to Lynch. From the centre circles, good ball inside 50, Gunston marks. 49 metres out from goal.
Nothing special about that clearance. It's just that Hawthorn got in and had first use of the ball, and the ruckman there, young Lynch, he basically competed the ball in the ruck, stood where he was, and the ball ended up coming back to him. And Draper was just trying to get involved. But well done to the Hawks there with the clearance.
So Gunston for a 4-goal lead for Hawthorn to start the second half, and he slots it from 50. Hawthorn 9-9-63, Essendon 6-3-39. 45 seconds into the third term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL, Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson.
Well, the clearance looked fairly easy. It was tapped down to Mitchell, but he was under enormous pressure. The Essendon player jumped on him straight away, but he was just so clean, just able to get the handball off to O'Meara, who just, again, within one step, caught it clean, no fumble, handballed the ball to Lynch, who just banged it forward, and Gunston playing in front, as all good forwards do, took the easy mark. You might think, yes, that's a tap, handball, kick, goal, but just the cleanness of the Hawthorn midfielders there was exceptional.
He joins Max Lynch with a couple of goals this evening. Ball back in the middle. Good bounce by the umpire. Draper was up early. Coming through was Caldwell. He was tackled. Didn't quite get boot to ball. No prior opportunity. Held to him. Umpire comes in for a secondary ball up.
Another good tackle by O'Meara.
Draper works his way to the front. Straight down to Mitchell, though. Newcomb's taken down. Still got a hand pass away. Lynch went for the soccer off the ground, and Draper shoved him about 5 metres in the air. Now a chance at ground level. Parrish outside. Clean by Martin. Goes back to Hind. One way, then the other. 50th game tonight for Hind. Kicks up towards right half forward. Francis on a long lead. Takes a nice mark outstretched.
Needs to move it quickly. Goes long now inside forward 50. Dropping back in the hole. Granger Barras is right behind play, wanting a free kick. Nothing doing, so Granger Barras inside defensive 50. Flares it across the face of goal. And Newcomb marks in the back pocket. Disposal number 24 coming up for Newcomb. Kicks long down the line. Kajitsky against Zerk Thatcher at the back. It was Ward, he couldn't come up with it. Now Laverty, handballs inboard to Reid. Couldn't quite hit the target. Goes again, Reid, well done. Handballs forward to Cutler. He's got Caldwell in space. The ball goes to Parrish instead, who releases Hines streaming through the middle of the ground from centre half forward. Chips inside 50, and Smith marks on the lead.
One of the Bombers using the corridor there. And one on my hind, he gets a full steam ahead, doesn't he?
He goes quick and he thinks bounce straight away, doesn't he?
He does. He took off, he had a bounce. I thought he'd gone a
He'd
little
only
bit
take
too far.
He'd only taken 5 steps and he took a bounce.
I thought he might have just sort of just wound himself up a little bit too much, but clever player. He just lowered the eyes. Saw Smith needs to put this one through.
So Devon Smith will have to kick it 48 metres. In he comes, gives it absolutely everything. Right to the line, touched as it goes through for a minor score. Hawthorn 9-9-63, Essendon 6-4-40. 4 minutes played. Third term as the Bombers bring it in quickly and Newcombe marks at left half back.
Newcombe, long kick from left half back up towards Bruce. Didn't leap at it in the end. It was punched away from him. O'Meara, hand pass to Morrison inside 50. Out the back, Moore takes the mark. And he caught one for his troubles as well. Draper, he was strong after he took the mark, but umpire says go back and take your kick. Not paying 50 here.
They must think Draper's underdone because Lynch again just streamed forward.
More from the forward pocket, goes to the snap, brings it around, not enough, across the face for one behind. Margin back to 24 points.
So Cutler brings the ball back in. The umpires found a free kick going to Baldwin, just infringed by Granger Brass.
I mentioned that about Draper, and on the other hand, Draper is just quite comfortable with just jogging around and not trying to make Lynch think about any of his positioning at the moment. He's just going through the motions, not really working hard at all to work his opponent over.
So Baldwin kicks to a pack on the wing. Perkins out the back is dumped by Newcombe. Ball spills free. Newcombe goes in again. He's brought to ground. Umpire says, I'll have it. Ball up just forward of the wing. Hawthorn lead by 24 points, 5 minutes into the third.
He's done well, Sam Mitchell, with this group. A lot of these boys have been underneath him in the VFL, and they're actually just bringing that VFL game plan that they've had for so long into AFL football, and it's working for them so far this year.
Draper took it out of the ruck, and then he was caught with the ball, holding it. Now a chance for the Hawks. Kick comes the way of Mitchell. Right half forward.
Merritt just let him run straight past him then.
Lynch again has pushed forward with Draper still sitting back.
High kick from Mitchell. Leapers are there. Lynch from behind, in front. One of the men who just stood taller than everyone else as they were all falling across him is Callow, and he'll line up for his first goal in AFL footy after making his debut last week.
He's got a pretty good set of hands on him, this fella. It's a couple tonight that he's clunked. He's had some big fellas trying to leap over the top of him, but got himself front position, stood tall. Good strong set of hands. Can he kick straight though? That's the key.
Few first goals tonight. Max Lynch kicked his first. Hobbs thought he had his first, then it was reversed as it was touched. Now Callow from 35 out. That was never going to be his first. Across the face for one behind. 9-11-65 the Hawks. 6-4-40 the Bombers after 6 minutes in the third term.
Keeping the Bombers in it. The margin's now 25 as Cutler short from the kick into Heppel. He kicks backwards to Reid. Then goes across to the other side of the ground to Martin, who's marked at right half back. Has Ham short, goes to him, marks in front of Morrison, his defensive side of the wing. Just forced to hold it up here at half back for the Bombers. Now kicks the long down the line. Perkins with the fly out the back, couldn't bring down the ball. Spills over the line for a throw-in between wing and half forward. Bombers into attack. They trail by 25, 7 gone third term.
Archie Perkins had a very quiet night tonight, just only the 5 possessions so far. So, you know, he promised so much when he first came on the scene last year, and missing a lot tonight.
Neither ruckman could get to the contest. Merritt, hand pass is okay to Redmond. And then a kick inside 50. No mark taken. It was a scrappy one in the end. Ham on the end of it. He shrugs the tackle. In fact, it's Perkins, rather. Hand pass is okay to Butler. Smart kick over the top. It's a Cutler, rather. Smart kick over the top. And the mark is taken by Martin, who will be lining up from about 45 out, 10 metres inside the boundary, left forward pocket.
My theory on Perkins, he chopped his hair.
He's not the player he used to be, you reckon, Jess? All his talent was in his hair.
In comes Martin. This will take one of his best from 49, lays into it pretty well. He's riding it home and it hits the post. One behind, Essendon 6-5, Hawthorn 9-11, the margin 4 straight goals.
So Day brings the ball back in, but they've turned it over at half-back as Hobbs. He's tackled by Ward. The umpire says, I'll have it. Ball in inside forward 50 for the Bombers. They've done well to lock it inside their forward 50. So Essendon pressing. They trail by 4 goals. Umpire tosses the ball in the air. Spills to Newcomb. Handball to Morrison. Kick under pressure down the line. Bounces through a couple. Bruce, he loses his footing. Cutler comes in. Gives it to Zerk Thatcher, who handballs to Redmond inside the centre square. Delivers to half forward. Doesn't find its intended target in Baldwin. McGuinness comes in for the Hawks. Gives it to Ward, who flares it out wide to Bramble, who's marked it right half back. Takes a bounce. Kick long down the line. Looking for Gunston. Used the body well. Marks just inside the boundary line. 2 kicks from goal.
Didn't move off his line at all, but he was called to play on for some reason. Then just has to kick inside 50. Big fly over the top. No mark taken by Kajitsky. Dump kick out of there is okay. Right, dropped an absolute sitter though. Hand pass over the top is okay. Pausing on his kick at the last moment and forced to hand pass is Martin. Gave it to Ham, to Parrish. This is all by hand to Redmond. Got out of 2 tackles. And then Parrish has blindly hand passed forward. It ends up with Cutler. Now to Bryan. And his kick is low and okay to Hobbs, who might have dropped it, disguised it well enough. Kick to centre half forward. That's better. Perkins has got to go. He turns, puts it out in front of Francis, who takes the mark. 40 out, 45-degree angle. He goes back inboard. Mark taken. 45 out directly in front by Parrish. They got there in the end, the Bombers. Wasn't pretty.
Well, if you look at Hobbs right now, he's blind because while they were mucking around with it on the half-back flank, he was presenting and presenting and presenting. He was out at one stage on his own, but they just didn't lift their eyes and look up. They wanted to keep finessing around it. They did get there at the end, but it was very, very ugly, and it was quite forced at the same time.
Gunston with the only goal of this third term so far. Essendon yet to kick a major in this second half. Parrish from 48. That's a shocker. Way out to the right. Never looked like it. One behind. 6-6-42 the Bombers. 9-11-65 the Hawks. The margin is 23 points.
The last 3 set shots from the Bombers have all come from kicking the ball from 48 metres out. They're running forward, but lowering their eyes and hitting the 50.
Sicily from the kick-in was pushed as he kicked it. Spills to McGuinness, who handballs to Impey. Close against the boundary line. Martin applies the pressure. Impey with the bouncing handball to Newcomb. He gives the fend off against Hobbs and then goes along the ground to Impey, who gives it back inboard to Bramble. Handballs to McDonald from the interchange gates. Just a rush kick towards half forward. Spills to Parrish, who handballs to Liberty, who gives it to Perkins, and the Bombers are off. Perkins sends it to forward 50. Francis marks 45 from goal. No, he's dropped it. Has to play on. Gives it to Caldwell from 45. And he's missed.
Well, Francis had a little bit of that, Berkey. I thought he held it for at least a second or two. And when he landed, that's when it sort of popped out. I thought he was very, very unlucky.
Scrimshaw receives it from Granger Brass. Goes back to him. Hand pass out wide back to Scrimshaw. Short. It's okay. Morrison takes it. Still inside defensive 50. Gives it back to Scrimshaw for his third link in the chain. And they're out here, the Hawks. All the way out the back. If they can get it inboard quickly enough, is McDonald. He can raffle it. Leaves it in the end. And it's spoiled. I thought it was going to be front-on contact. Kajitsky gets to his feet. Hand pass over the top to Bruce. Gets out of one tackle. 2 McDonald snaps across the face. One behind. A certain goal gone begging. Must have been the cleanest spoil of all time not to get any of Kajitsky's hands. I thought he was going to receive the free, but the Bombers are able to save themselves. 6-7-43 played 9-12-66. 12 played third term Grandstand AFL.
7 consecutive behinds by these two sides to start this third term is Cutler to Martin and gives it to McGrath. That's a good kick out to the outer side wing. Finds Francis, who kicks to half forward. It's a tumbling ball inside 50, not great. Day picks up for the Hawks, gives it to Mitchell. Frost, clever. Sicily, in fact, Clever tap. And now Mitchell has a fumble. Tries to handball to himself. Caldwell with the tackle. McGrath picks it up for the Bombers. Close against the boundary line. Outer side wing. Handballs inboard to Redmond. He tries to fend off. Has run out of room. Parrish has a go. Ball spills loose to Day. Handballs out wide to Morrison. Kicks towards half forward. Playing out in front, Laverty.
Laverty just held up by Bruce. Crowd asked the question. No 50. Laverty goes short.
Sorry, mate. There's a lot of smart footballers making a lot of dumb decisions out here with the ball at the moment. They're handballing to players standing still, going backwards and sideways.
Cutler trots across defensive 50. Poor kick coming out as well. It was wide and over the head of Perkins. Gave him no chance whatsoever against Hardwick. It bounces out for a boundary throw-in.
There's 8 minutes to go. I want to see something from Hawthorn at the moment. The ball's gone up and down. They've got a couple of forward entries. They've actually got a couple of guys that are streamed forward unopposed. So I want to see him use something and do something with the ball here at the minute.
Warple, a hand pass back into congestion. Callow had it ripped away from him. Good hand pass from Shield of the Bombers. Over the back to Heppel. Out wider still to Parrish, who kicks on his left boot. Was it a free kick? No, umpire wave, play on. Shield able to run onto it. Could deliver to right inside 50. He does, who takes the chest mark.
Well, we can see Essendon do something with the ball.
But again, this is their fourth shot at goal from marks inside 50, and they're kicking the ball from 50 metres out every single time.
Not many deep entries in this term, as Berkey has mentioned a couple of times. Margin 23. They just need this to keep hanging around. Wright will start his approach from inside the centre square. He'll have to kick from 52. Slight angle to the left. Peter Wright, who has been a shining light for the Bombers. He doesn't get that wrong at all. Lovely strike. Wright has his third of the evening, one in each quarter. And the Bombers steady. 17 points the margin, 15 played, third quarter on Grandstand AFL.
So much potential, Peter Wright. We've seen him up the Gold Coast. Things didn't work for him, but certainly here at the Bombers, things are starting to work. I love the way he goes about it. I love the way he presents at the football at various different times, the way he competes in the air. But one thing I do love about his effortless shots on goal. He doesn't try and kick it too hard. It's a nice, smooth kicking style that just brings the leg all the way through and at its target. Doesn't lean back overly too much. For a big man, it's quite hard to kick the ball because you've got to drop it from a little bit higher, but he makes a good, sweet connection with the football when he has a shot on goal.
You need to remember, him kicking for 52 is like me kicking from 22.
20 goals now in season 2022 for Peter Wright has brought the margin to within 3 goals. Is from the middle. Merritt on his hands and knees. Tackled by Mitchell. Ball spills loose. Coming through Martin. Gives it off to Parrish, who kicks out wide in front of Caldwell. Oh, didn't get a great bounce. McGuinness, although Caldwell comes up with it again from right half forward. Kicks into the pocket. That's out of bounds on the full.
He's done a couple of big efforts at the moment. McGuinness going back in the defensive 50, being clean with his head over the ball there. There he made a bit of a blunder, but he was able to make up for it there at the same time. Dylan Shield looks like he's coming off again with his ankle, guys.
Yeah, changed the boots. Not sure it's worked. Looked like it got jarred in that previous contest. McGuinness, the outlet kick at left half back for the Hawks. He takes the mark and then kicks low beyond the wing. Bit of a floater in the end. And too easy for Draper, marking in front of his fellow mulleted Max Lynch.
We know Hawthorn have gone to sleep in the second half of a couple of games against the Saints and the Swans. They got really blown away late in the game, and they need to make sure that doesn't happen here.
Draper to Bryan, who takes an encouraging mark. Juggled it, inside 50 he goes. Hobbs takes the mark, backing back with the flights.
That was the right option. If he had gone long and direct where there was some one-on-ones, Sicily had sort of tapered off a little bit and sort of sagged off, and he would have got back there. So he didn't rush at all. He actually assessed the situation there, lowered his eyes and found somebody out wide.
And his first goal taken off him a couple of quarters ago. With a video review. How does he go this time, Hobbs? He likes it off the boot, and he's got his first goal in AFL footy. And this time the celebrations are for real. And Essendon are right back in this. 11 points the margin, 17 played, third term on Grandstand AFL. Let's head downstairs, Lauren.
Well, we saw Shield just going straight down into the rooms. He was limping on his left ankle. He's just gone straight down. Doctors and physios running after him. Alistair Lord now starting to warm up a little bit, so not sure if he's going to be activated soon, or we'll see how this one plays out, but Shield not looking good at all.
Alistair Lord on debut, of course, one of those 5 late changes. Wonder what he was doing at about 3 o'clock this afternoon, Alistair Lord. Whether he's thinking, geez, getting ready from a VFL game on Sunday and then maybe getting the call, you better get your tracksuit on and head straight to Docklands.
So it's not Alistair Lord, the 1962 Brownlow medalist?
No.
Good.
Not quite the mature age.
Definitely an 18-year-old freshman. I normally hate that rule when you're a debutant in the sub rule, but hopefully he gets his chances. From the middle, the Bombers win it out through Merritt, tumbles a kick inside 50, over the head of Wright. Intelligent tap on Smith, just lost his footing at the wrong time. Sicily, and now Impey dribbles a kick to the pocket. Hardwick has a bit of work to do. Spills out to McGuinness, close against the boundary line. Tackled by Bryan. Ball spills loose. Parrish to Hobbs. Now it spills Hawthorn's way. Impey on the last line of defence. Just steadies, kicks out wide. Redmond in front, more over the top of him. Ball spills out the back. Caldwell collects. Gives it to Laverty. Chips inside 50. A couple of Bombers can mark this. Martin was in there, but claiming the mark and coming down with it.
And this is
it's Hobbs again.
And this is where they get caught out, the Hawks every now and then, the defenders. Sometimes they've put so much time and effort into defending that they've forgotten what to do once the ball exits their D50. They need to get back and they need to man up quickly. They had a number of options there, the Bombers, to go to.
So Hobbs, the 18-year-old from Horsham, kicked his first goal a couple of moments ago. This one misses to the right. Essendon are pressing. It's Hawthorn 9-12-66, Essendon 8-8-56, 20 minutes played third term.
A little bit shell-shocked here, the Hawks. The Bombers have finally got their team defence far more ordered than what they had in that first half, and the Hawks aren't able to find their way through as easily.
Day short to Impey. Impey in the back pocket, takes a bounce. His kick was dodgy. It's intercepted and knocked towards right, who goes back inside 50. That's a poor injury. Day's able to chop off. He goes out wide. Sicily can run onto this. Right back flank. Draws the opponent. Hand pass to Impey. Links up for the 1-2. Hand pass over the top. He's okay to Bramble. Back to Sicily, who gets over halfway and is coat-angered.
I reckon that was a professional free kick.
Yeah, might have been.
He was going to get him.
Cutler acted as if it was an accident. It didn't look like much of an accident. Meanwhile, a 9-iron from Sicily inside 50. No mark taken through the hands of Draper going back with a flight. Bombers have the numbers out the back, though. It's okay through Redmond, who takes one bounce and then gets on his bike. Short kick, just travelled the required distance. Hobbs, who's having a good purple patch here the last 5 minutes, takes the mark right half back.
Wants to switch play. It's a long kick across the face of goal. Hindmark still inside defensive 50 and then kicks out wide to Cutler, who's marked defensive side of the wing. Chips in board to Parrish, who releases. Hind by hand, chips it towards half forward, stretching up and taking the mark is Baldwin. Quick to play on, chips inside 50, running back is Bryan, who's marked 45 metres out, 45-degree angle to the right.
Well, the Bombers are squared up the inside forward 50s now. They're only one behind, or could be one on top, one behind, 37-30, 38 at the moment, where most of the game they've been behind by about 7 or potentially a 12 at various different times. So they're actually getting the ball forward and they're actually putting this Hawthorn defence under pressure, like I said, probably about 3 or 4 minutes ago. And the Hawks defence are unsure what to do as there is a flurry of red sashes running straight at them.
So Nick Bryan is yet to kick an AFL goal, and that one sprayed it across the face. And misses to the near side for a minor score. But the Bombers are coming. Hawthorn 9-12, 66 Essendon 8-9, 57, 22 played third term.
We're going to have another crack at Scrimshaw for just letting his man lead up to the middle of the ground and be that link kick inside 50. It was terrible defending.
Hardwick from defence. He was looking for Kajitsky through his hands. Good spoil by Laverty. Out the back, though. Coming the other way is Hind. Got round one tackle. Hand pass out wide is okay. Now the hand pass over the top from Zirk Thatcher. Releases Perkins. Perkins chips it. And then running onto it was Scrimshaw. Attacked the footy nicely. Hand pass through the legs of Morrison, who has to toe poke it today. Hand pass to Moore, put him under all sorts of pressure. Martin intercepts, kicks to right. Who takes the mark? In fact, it's going to be 50 in the back. Dylan Moore with the free kick. Wright kicks it to him. And the Bombers have to suddenly flood back.
Was a free kick there, Berkey? I don't think it was. I think it was a 50-50.
More shocking kick. Perhaps the footy gods were looking down on that one. Hind, kick right up the middle to Wright, who stretches, drops it at the last moment. Frost, blind handball, turns out okay to Warple in the middle. Hand pass to O'Meara, and now to McGuinness, who pulls the trigger from 50 all the way home. McGuinness kicks his second goal of his career. And Hawthorn just get a steadier as Essendon were pushing. 17 points the margin. We've played 25 minutes in this third quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Well, they badly needed that one, Hawthorn. They've been under the pump for the last 7 or 8 minutes. And I don't know how you kick the ball over Peter Wright's head. Because if he marks that, well, pretty much Essendon get a goal at the other end. Kick goes over his head and a goal to the Hawks.
It was like tennis there for a moment with all the turnovers. Let's head downstairs, Lauren.
So amongst all the excitement, Shield again, he's back on. He's run back into the middle, so he looks so sore when he comes off and then runs back on. Got some messages from Ben Rutten, who's coaching on the bench, so I think you'll try and implement them in the midfield if you can.
Well, that passage of play was just a clanger fest. There was clangers everywhere there, from the umpire to the players. It wasn't a free kick to start off with, and then it just went up and down between the arcs.
Not the prettiest game of football, but we've got a close one as Draper palms down to Caldwell. The Bombers are away. Martin from centre half forward crosses 50 and goes bang! Essendon with the fast reply. Oh no, we've got a score review. This game's got a bit of everything in it.
Yeah, right. Get behind the ball. You can't stand with your back against one goalpost and wonder whether it hits the other goalpost.
So score review. I think it might have hit the post is what we're looking at.
You're right, Berkey. You're right, Berkey. If they actually track the ball instead of just straddling the line, as they call it, track the ball, he easily sees that it's actually gone through the behinds, not the goals. I think they just get excited about their straddling.
Yeah.
So it looks like this one might get overturned. And it has. So
that's two to you, Jess, that you've got excited about, and you've called some of your best footy.
Killing me. I'm not getting much on the highlights reel tonight.
Couple of false starts. Hawthorn come wide. Now a chance for McDonald. Hand pass to O'Meara, who bursts through the wing. Long kick out the back. Gunston in prime position. Pushes off his opponent. Takes an easy mark. One end of the ground to the other. In a flash.
It's fantastic. Handballs, again, starting by Mitchell. Lynch he copped a bit of a knock in the head with that. We'll get lost to keep an eye on him, but he looks okay. But fantastic chain of handballs. Gets in the hand of Mira, who just says, I've got Gunston out the back. That's exactly where I'm going to put the footy. And shot for goal.
Gunston comes in and he misses. He was 25 metres out. Slight angle to the right. You'd normally pop that down in the book.
That's 11 behinds between the two sides in this third term as the Bombers bring it in quickly. Redmond to Hind. And he's off and racing from right half back. Has 3 bounces from the wing. Just wobbles a kick towards half forward. It's off hands. Perkins lays a tackle. As the 3/4 time siren sounds here at Docklands, it's Hawthorn 10-13-73, Essendon 8-10-58. The margin is 15 points. Your goal kickers for Essendon, for Hawthorn rather, 2 each to Gunston and Lynch, and singles to Morrison, Moore, Bruce, Kajitsky, McGuinness and McDonald. And for Essendon, Wright has 3, and singles to Parrish, Caldwell, Hobbs, with his first goal in AFL footy, Martin and Francis.
Oh, what a strange quarter of footy that was. 18 points was the Hawthorn lead at half-time. Essendon have closed it to 15 with 1 quarter of footy to go. Meanwhile, 3/4 time up in Brisbane as well. It is the Lions by 41 points over the West Coast Eagles. So a lot of people thought that would be far greater margin than that. West Coast having done well so far to keep it to just 41 points at three-quarter time, knowing their troubles at the moment as well. Under the roof here, 15-point lead to the Hawks. We're set for a big last quarter. You're listening to Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Can art and creativity heal invisible wounds?
It takes a lot to come out and talk about mental health.
Now, a unique social experiment hosted by Natalie Bassingthwaite harnesses the healing quality of art.
All will be revealed.
To find out if art can build a brighter future for our mental health.
I think you found your thing. Wow. You've nailed it.
Space 22 starts Tuesday, May 17 on ABC TV or log in to stream on ABC iView.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
From the centre circles, good ball inside 50. Gunston marks 49 metres out from goal. Gunston for a 4-goal lead for Hawthorn to start the second half. And he slots it from 50.
To the free kick, no umpire wave, play on. She'll have to run onto it. Could deliver to right inside 50, he does, who takes the chest mark. He'll have to kick from 52. Slight angle to the left. Peter Wright, who has been a shining light for the Bombers. He doesn't get that wrong at all. Lovely strike. Draper to Bryan, who takes an encouraging mark. Juggled it. Inside 50 he goes. Hobbs takes the mark. Backing back with the flights. How does he go this time, Hobbs? He likes it off the beat. And he's got his first goal in AFL footy. And this time the celebrations are for real. And Essendon are right back in this. 11 points the margin. Hind kicked right up the middle to Wright, who stretches, drops it at the last moment. Frost, blind handball, turns out okay to Warple in the middle. Hand pass to O'Meara, and now to McGuinness, who pulls the trigger from 50 all the way home. McGuinness kicks his second goal of his career. And Hawthorn just get a steadier as Essendon were pushing.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Welcome back to the Docklands. Andrew Mays, Jess Webster, Chris Johnson, Nathan Burke and Lauren Borden with you this evening. And Essendon closing in late in that third quarter. Got within 15 points before the siren sounded. So the task is ahead of the Bombers as Hawthorn lead this 10-13-73 to the Bombers 8-10-58. Berkey, Jono, what can you see happening in the next half hour or so of footy?
I think this is all set up for an Essendon come from behind win. I think the Hawks are a little bit shaky. I've seen them play, as I mentioned previously, against the Saints and against the Swans. And in the last quarter, they went to sleep. They've been pretty admirable for the first three quarters, got themselves into the game, but then just could not finish out the game. So I think it's all set up for Essendon to do what they did in that quarter. They won the inside 50s by about 9. They won the contested possessions by 8. They won the uncontested by 12. They started to move the ball a little bit faster through the corridor. They didn't do it every time. They mucked it up a lot of times, but when they did move the ball through the corridor, they looked far more dangerous. And the only time that they really looked susceptible was when they did a stupid turnover in the middle and Hawthorn got them out the back. You've got Gunston and Bruce and these guys that they recognise when the ball's going to get turned over faster than anyone else on the field, and they shoot backwards towards goals. If Hawthorn can get the ball out the back to them, well, then they'll win this game. But it all depends on how Essendon use that ball in that middle third of the ground.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Berg. I think it is set up. Essendon looked a little bit better in the latter stages of that quarter. Obviously, some good forward thrust there by the Hawks, but certainly with Peter Wright, they've got a forward that's actually winning the sort of forward contest at the moment in Peter Wright. I think he's outstanding. Well done to Essendon there. They squared up the ledger there in terms of the inside forward 50s. It's only just a slightly advantage in Hawthorn's way. The mark inside forward 50s as well. It's only slightly in Hawthorn's way, where it's been led by Hawthorn for the majority of the night. And it's only 23 to 18 scoring shots, and Essendon only having the 18 and Hawthorn having the 23. So they're not that far behind. I think if they just again, when we come back to the first half of the game, I spoke about penetrating and really getting through the corridor and penetrating the forward line. I think that's the key to Essendon at the moment. If they're going to have a comeback or a chance at this, they need to move the ball quick into Francis and Wright and even Martin. Martin's very dangerous around goals at the same time. So for Essendon to have a chance, they need to do that. But again, I think Hawthorn, they just need to keep working as hard. And you're right that there are certainly some tendencies there that I've seen in that quarter that they were sort of lazy with their kicks or sitting off their handballs. But certainly Hawthorn are a better team tonight, but there is a chance for the Bombers to come over the top.
Before we start the final term, let's head downstairs. Lauren?
Max Lynch did cop a bit of a knock to the head late. He was called down to the rooms by the Hawthorn doctors. It looks like he'll be getting a concussion test, and he was subbed out in round 1 with concussion, so obviously he knows exactly what he's in for with these protocols.
Tom Mitchell just 13 possessions at three-quarter time. Not often you see him so low in that number. He'll want a big last quarter. He's starting right in the middle, where Hawthorn are leading at the moment by 15 points. The job ahead for Essendon. Draper smacks it out of the ruck. Was looking for the run of Shield and Caldwell. Both couldn't pick it up cleanly. Now a chance for Callow. Looping handball is good to the wing, and Impey can take off. He takes one bounce. He's thinking about a second. Ran a long way. Kicks inside 50 over the head of Gunston, who was forced to spoil in the end. McGrath gets through one tackle and then pushes off a teammate, propelled him forward. And the kick is good too to Wright, who's presented up forward of centre wing.
Again, he presents further up the field, wheels around and kicks inside 50. Almost a mark to Sicily. Out the back, Francis couldn't go with it. Scrimshaw now for the Hawks. Collects, kicks out wide. That's a good contested mark by Morrison, who handballs out wide to Ward. Has to go inboard to Scrimshaw. Goes back to Ward. From the wing. Kick up towards half forward. It's all Essendon. Oh, dangerous. O'Meara has tackled Laverty and is given away a free kick for holding the ball.
His tackling's been outstanding tonight, O'Meara. He's done a couple of these throughout the night.
So 6 tackles for O'Meara. Kicks towards full forward to a pack. It's offhand, spills in front. McGuinness, left foot snap around the corner, is missed to the near side. Hawthorn 10-14, 74. Essendon 8-10, 58. 90 seconds played in this final term.
Chance for the Bombers to bring it back in through Hind, who takes off into the left back pocket. Long kick to Martin is good. Top of defensive 50. He cuts back inboard. Nice kick to Caldwell too. He takes the mark. Thought about going quickly. Sold Merritt the dummy. Took off himself. Got to centre, or got to over halfway. Then just hand passed it forward. Should have kicked it in the end to Perkins, who had to loop back. Long kick is good inside the forward pocket. And the mark is taken in the end by Baldwin.
They just look so much better, Essendon, when they stay in the corridor. All the way from the back half through the middle of the ground there. That was in the corridor. They look so much better. Gives their forwards an opportunity.
Strange decision by Caldwell to feed the hand pass to someone essentially who was on a lead. It's worked out okay for the Bombers. Left forward pocket here for Baldwin. Tight angle. He'll start his approach on the boundary line. Kick from about 40. About 5 metres inside the boundary. High kick. It looks okay. The Essendon fans love it behind the goals. And that's the start the Bombers needed to this final term. Margin back to 10 after 2 minutes.
You're right, John. When they get the ball through the middle and they run directly forward, again, they do look quite dangerous, and they've got some dangerous forwards who lead quite well. I'm not sure why it was Caldwell, I think it was, running through the middle of the ground. I think a lot of the time their vision when they've got the football only expands 10 metres. Because just think about it, you're running with a football and you're either looking up the ground or you're looking in a 10-metre radius. And a lot of their younger players in particular, and a lot of their midfielders, only scan 10 metres around them. He handballed the ball to Perkins, who's probably smarter than your average younger player, who thought, hang on, we don't need to be handballing again. I'm going to turn and kick the ball long and end up getting a goal.
Well, the other thing there with Caldwell, you had Merritt outside.
So Draper just pumps it or thumps it from the ruck. The Bombers go inside 50 quickly. Baldwin dumped in a tackle right, handball over his head to Francis. Handball's inboard, misses McGrath. Impey comes up with it to O'Meara, who's dispossessed. Ball spills loose. Francis has a fumble. Now Redmond has a go from right half forward. Gets around Mitchell, chips it towards the 50. Perkins traps it, but he's coughed it up to McGuinness. To O'Meara, who just hacks it down the line. Bounces in front of Reid, who hand passes to Heppel, who goes backwards to Laverty. Under pressure with the kick. Back towards half forward. Through the hands of Francis. Out the back, Perkins can't go with it. Frost on his hands and knees. Spills out the back to O'Meara. Gives it to Mitchell. Pushed as he kicked it. Back down the line. Up in the contest is Heppel. Touch play on, says the umpire. Tackled by Kajitsky. Umpire says, give it to me. Ball up. Centre wing position, dockside.
It would have been a bit of umpire dissent, you would think, in years gone past before the rule was brought in there. Heppel stood up straight away, wanting to say something but couldn't. From the stoppage, Newcombe tries to burst away. He's tackled. Ball spilt free. Callow tried to force his way through a tackle. Again, it's spilt free without a legal possession. Umpire says play on. Redmond's caught 360. He got out of his tackle, but he ran out of space, out of bounds.
The Hawks need to get Lynch back out of that change room and back out on the ground because Draper's just going to monster Callow. He's just not big enough. He's either going to bang the ball forward and put it down his small players' throats. They need to capitalise while Lynch is down in the rooms.
Callow only 194 centimetres as well. Draper 205, so he's got 11 centimetres and probably about 15 kilos on him. Ball to be thrown in. True centre wing. Again, Draper gets the front spot, just punches it clear of the stoppage. Caldwell missed his teammate with the hand pass and a ball in. Will take place again.
Handballing it.
Wow, he's paid deliberate.
He's handballed it to his teammate.
Extraordinary decision.
Oh, I've seen some dumb ones of those, and that one takes the cake.
Yeah.
So Ward goes backwards to Scrimshaw, who kicks inside defensive 50 to Frost, who then kicks it back to where it came from, and Ward marks at left half back. Handball's over the top to Scrimshaw. Close against the boundary line, just drives it down the line. And Redmond takes the intercepting mark for the Bombers. Chips in board to Hind.
They've got some momentum, Essendon, here at the moment. They're actually holding the ball quite well, and they're actually forcing Hawthorn into turnover.
Hind, good kick to find Hobbs, centre wing position. He's marked in front of Ward.
He goes short, inboard, good kick. Mark taken by Redmond. Redmond again short and inboard, so they've worked this to the middle. Mark taken by Caldwell, he's had a fair bit of it tonight. He'll run off half back, switch the line of attack over to the other side of the centre square. Heppel takes the mark, left half forward, has Cutler short, ignores him, instead goes a little longer into the forward pocket, right, trying to get a leap at it. Francis spoils from behind, front and centre. Perkins got the hand pass just to McGrath. He's taken immediately, ball spilt again. Smith taken in a tackle, got his hand pass. Although the Hawks have numbers and O'Meara's able to flare it straight up the middle to Gunston, two and they're out.
And Kajitsky's out the back, all alone inside 50. The kick goes to him. He marks 40 metres out directly in front.
Well, young Reid just went off him, decided to, thought he could influence the contest third in. It's going to be a 50-metre penalty. Did you see what happened there, Jess?
I reckon he might have moved around on the mark, possibly.
So this one hurts the Bombers as Kajitsky from the goal square says thank you very much. The Hawks get their 11th of the night, 11-14. 80 plays Essendon 9-10-64. Before we hear the thoughts of Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke, Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Max Lynch back up here doing some stretches on the bench. Big thumbs up from the doctor. He was all smiles, so he's passed the concussion test, ready to go back on and add some height back to the Hawks side.
Well, if you leave your opponent and you elect to go further up or to impact the contest, you've got to make sure you impact it, Berkey, because young Reid, and I don't want to point him out, Zach Reid here, 200 centimetres, he went across, tried to impact the contest and had no influence whatsoever around because he just sort of drifted out the back, and that's where the lapse of concentration comes into this Essendon side where they've got so many young players.
He's saying a player ran through the protected zone.
Yeah, I think
he was
so.
20 metres away from the player with the ball.
Ridiculous. Been some strange calls this evening Trying to spin out of a tackle from the stoppage in the middle was Parrish. He's taken. Ball going nowhere. Umpire will toss it up.
No effect on the play or the play with the ball. The play with the ball wouldn't even noticed him.
Plenty of players around the ball in the middle. Caldwell becomes tackler. That, again, is going nowhere. We'll have a third stoppage.
I'm getting rid of that rule too, Maisie and Jess, when I take over from McGill. 7 rules I'm up to now.
Kick out of the middle is okay. Now a chance for the Hawks. I'll just bashed off. It was Zirk Thatcher. Felt to Gunston, who dribbles towards goal. Misses. Didn't quite have the bend on it there. And 1 behind is the result. Margin is now 17 points in favour of the Hawks.
So the Bombers really need the next one. It's from the kick out. Cutler sends it out wide, looking for Francis. In front position, off hands. Good roving by Heppel. Handballs inboard to McGrath, who handballs inboard to Perkins. His kick towards half forward right presents on the lead. Ball falls at his feet. Granger Brass dives on it. Baldwin dives on top of him. The umpire says, I'll have it. Ball in, 5 metres in from the boundary line between wing and half forward. Just a bit of push and shove off the ball. Callow with the tap down to O'Meara, who's dumped in a tackle by Smith, and the umpire says, I'll have it again.
A few Essendon fans getting pretty agitated in the first couple of rows downstairs. Been a frustrating night for them. Tossed up. Callow won it down. Mitchell couldn't gather. Now Hind, he's taken to ground. No prior opportunity. Another stoppage to take place. It's been a fairly open game, and we're just getting a couple of repeat stoppages in this final term. Tossed up. Callow again in the ruck. Hobbs did well to shark the tap. Dribbles the ball inside 50. Bounces over the head of Granger Barras. And also Baldwin and out. And Smith came in late. No need to give that one away. And he coat-hangered Granger Barras, who'll end up with a free kick. That's just ill-discipline from an experienced player.
And when you haven't had an impact on the game, and you only had your 5 possessions, and you haven't even been able to have your disposals only at 40%, it's been a very, very poor game from him tonight.
So Scrimshaw kicks outside offensive 50. It's fisted away by Morrison. Smith picks it up, chips into the pocket where Martin marks. So he's got it only 30 metres from home, but close up against the boundary line. And Bombers fans want 50, I think, for a bit of manhandling. But Martin will have to take his shot. So difficult angle. He'll go on to the left. Oh, that's a beautiful bend around the corner. The Bombers are still in it. Hawthorn 11-15-81. Essendon 10-10-70. Margin back to 11. 12 minutes played, final term.
It's 11 points now, and I think Essendon are playing the better football in this last quarter. We've seen the Hawks kick a goal from pretty much an end-to-end because there was a mistake from an Essendon player and a 50-metre penalty. But around the contest, Essendon look a little bit more structured, a little bit more up and about. Hawthorn, really, there's no semblance of Hawthorn's game style that we've seen so far in this quarter. So it would not surprise me if we get a little bit of an upset here in this last quarter.
And I reckon it comes down to Mac Lynch. He's been off for quite some time, and Hawthorn had to restructure their whole ruck sort of setup, their centre-bound setup. Lynch is back on at the moment, and then they've had to restructure their forward setup as well. So it's going to be a big boost to the Hawks with Lynch in there.
Bombers fans getting behind their team. Shield with the clearance, kicks it towards centre half forward. Martin runs onto it, looking for an option inside 50. Caught on his left. Wright should mark this. He does! Brought it to ground, paid the mark, and Wright will line up from 20 out directly in front.
Well, the Bomber Army are right behind them at the moment. You can hear their voices, you can hear them getting behind him, but that was just, Martin's had a fantastic game tonight. I thought he's kicked his 2 goals, and just the ability to get his time and space there. He had no time or space. He created his time and space and just put it to Wright's advantage, and what a super mark going back with the flight.
Goal in the first, goal in the second, goal in the third. Can he deliver in the fourth? Peter Wright from 20 out. He's got it. And the Dons are back. They're within a goal. 5 points to margin. And there's still plenty of time in this one. 13-play final term.
Yeah, my concern here for the Hawks is that they don't know how to change this. They're not well drilled enough. They're not experienced enough to say, right, Essendon are on top of us at the moment. This is what we need to do. We need to slow the game down, not rush so much. Every time they get to Hawthorn, they're rushing. Just slow it down, take some heat out of the game, lock the ball in our forward 50 for a period of time. At the moment, when it goes forward, it's coming straight back out again. So it'll be really interesting what Hawks leaders can do here.
Well, what they need to do, start off, they either need to win this clearance or draw it. That's all they need to do. That should be the only thing in their mind at the moment. They cannot lose this centre clearance.
The Bombers fans are finding their voice here at Docklands as that bounce is a bit of a letdown.
I built up that centre clearance, didn't I?
So we will have a secondary bounce as Lynch and Draper.
You're getting rid of the bounce, Berkey?
No, keep the bounce. Traditionalist, mate.
So Draper with the tap down. Shield tries to go off the deck. He's got a free kick though for a hold. So Shield can send Essendon back into attack. He's got to go.
That's going to be 50 against.
And wow.
That's wrong. That's wrong.
Goodness me.
That's wrong.
You know why he paid 50? Because I'll tell you, listeners. So the Essendon player went one side of the play on the mark, and the Hawthorn player was caught and went on the other side. And what he did was he ran forward rather than running out. You've got to take the nearest exit and run sideways and not forward, which is why he paid 50 metres. So he got out of there fast through the direction that he ran.
So the Bombers haven't been in front since the first quarter, and Shields sprays it. Oh, that's a costly miss. Hawthorn 11-15-81, Essendon 11-11-77. Margin, though, cut back to 4 points.
You know why that happens, Jess? The footy gods. The footy gods are looking down on Hawthorn.
Hawthorn go the direct route straight up the middle. Merritt fell to ground, wanted a free kick. Ball caught under him, and we'll have a ball up right in the middle. So a few fingernails being chewed downstairs, I'm sure, amongst all the fans here this evening. This is going right down to the wire. A lot of players around this. Mitchell tries to emerge, held to him. He goes to ground. Martin emerges with it for the Bombers. Puts it in front of Ham. Ball bounces a couple of times. He gathers on his left. Kicks okay. Spoiled away from right. It was the right side too for Ham. Good delivery, but nice ball by Frost. Ball in left forward pocket for the Bombers.
I've only watched the Bombers play twice, and I've been very impressed with Nick Martin. He's a very, very intelligent footballer.
Having a brilliant debut season. Nick Martin is from the boundary throw-in. Shield tries to extract it and can't. And Parrish lays the tackle, and we've got a ball up 40 metres from the Essendon goal. They trail by 4 points. Haven't led since the opening term. Two rucks go at it. It spills to Morrison of the Hawks. Just hacks it out of the danger zone, but it's coming back. Heppel takes the intercepting mark. He's 2 kicks from goal. It's a crowded forward 50, so he just chips it sideways to Redmond, who has it inside the centre square.
They've got Lynch and Sicily sitting right in front of right.
So Redmond goes for a run, lets it fly from 55! Essendon are in front at Docklands!
Oh, hang on, no, it's not. It's touched. They're all celebrating.
What's going on?
And they're all celebrating.
There's 8 Bombers behind the ball that are running back to position. So the Hawks have the numbers around the ball, but it's kicked to 4-on-1. And poor old Dylan Moore couldn't do much about that. Draper in the middle. He drops the mark. Mitchell over the top. Bashes the ball forward. Now Redmond, who thought he'd kicked it, forced to defend, taken in a tackle. Umpire Circle says, I'll have it.
So just take us back there, Berkey. You knew it was touched.
I saw the Essendon runner.
I had no idea.
Oh, no, it was a free kick. No, it was a free kick.
It was a free kick.
And the Essendon runner
it was a goal in my defence.
Yes,
I'm not messing this up. I just...
Chance for the Hawks, deep forward here. Moore out of the stoppage, kicks to the top of the square. No mark taken. Gunston's lurking. Ball back into congestion. Bombers are able to lock it up. Top of the defensive goal square.
While there was 8 players jumping on Redmond, the Essendon runner, who was gesticulating wildly that it was still the ball in play, and that's what caught my eye.
So ball up 10 metres out from Hawthorn's goal. No winner from the stoppage. It trickles over the boundary line for a throw-in.
So was it
for the listeners, it was actually Peter Wright moving Frost off the goal line, hugged him almost and tackled him to the ground. That's why the free kick was given against Essendon.
Which you do see a lot on the goal line.
Yes.
So umpire spins the ball back in a plate, spills to Redmond. His handball, though, straight to Ward of Hawthorn. Redmond just bumps him across the line for a boundary throw-in 40 metres around from Hawthorn's goal.
Normally, you're excused on the goal line. You can pretty much tackle your opponent to the ground. They won't play on.
A little harsh.
Not on that occasion. Ball to be tossed back into play. Lynch won it forward. Mitchell waited for it. Back underneath him as well. Now a chance from the grass. Snaps it around the body. Wright tried to knock it on. Went the other way instead. Day works the 1-2 with MP. All the way back to Scrimshaw on the wing. Now to O'Meara. And O'Meara goes to centre-half back where Sicily takes the mark.
Kicks out wide to Hardwick, who's marked still inside the centre square. Just held up momentarily, then chips forward to O'Meara, who's marked on the wing.
Jeez, he ran hard to get that footy.
Got numbers on the outer side and does want to switch play again. Backwards to Hardwick at centre-half back. Called to play on. Has Sicily just inside defensive 50 and goes to him. Scrimshaw's out wide. Ignores that. Goes further afield. It's a good kick. Finds Day just in front of the interchange gates. Chips forward looking for Mitchell. Off the side of the boot. Out of bounds on the full. Free kick to Essendon to Zirk Thatcher.
Up until then, it was smart play by Hawthorn. They needed to just settle things down, control the ball for a little bit, but it doesn't help when you kick the ball out of bounds on the full.
And that's just a young, inexperienced player, isn't it?
Zirk Thatcher, short to Caldwell, right half back, long kick. Francis forced to fly. He was the lone bomber in that pack, although created the contest. Now out wide, Hobbs, hand pass to Merritt. Then back into traffic, McGrath, hand pass out wide to the top of 50, to Parrish, and now to Francis to the top of the square. Peter Wright, not quite. It's off Merritt, he didn't pick it up. It fell onto his boot, he's kicked the goal.
Hang on.
Maisie, just relax.
I reckon he's fumbled this onto his boot and it's gone straight through the middle.
Could be off the knee.
Merritt's confident. Merritt's very confident.
As long as he didn't kick it into his own fingers.
Did Martin touch it?
They'll need to go to the front on. The angle's probably better. Where it's come off his probably foot, then it's in his hand maybe.
I don't know. No, you've got to play that.
Oh, it looks like it's come off his hand, Berkey there. He's bending down, for listeners, he's bending down trying to pick it up, and as he's picked it up, his heel has sort of kicked the ground. So now they're trying to work out whether it's touched his hand after it's left his heel.
We've gone to about 5 different angles so far. The Essendon fans are up behind the goal.
What was the umpire's call?
I'm not sure.
It might be inconclusive.
It's got to be a goal, I think.
This is taking a long time. It's come off his shin. The Bombers fans think it's a goal.
It looks like it has hit his hand, what I can see. Listeners, but
I'm not
goal.
It's
a goal.
It's a goal. There you go. Forget what I said.
Essendon in front. 12-11-83 to the Hawks, 11-15-81. It's the first time they've had the lead since the 24-minute mark of the opening term. The replacements are doing the job.
The one of Peter Wright, he was down there in the goal square by himself for around about 20 seconds. Essendon were fiddling around with the ball outside 50. Eventually, one of them said, "Yeah, let's just get it down there on our boot." I think it was Francis in the end. A great contest by Wright, who was caught behind, brought the ball to the ground, and Merritt got himself in the right spot, front and centre running through. Couldn't pick it up, but luckily hit his foot.
So 4-1 Essendon's way in this final term. And they win it out of the middle again. Merritt throws it on the brick. No, free kick. I saw that one.
Let it play, umpire.
No, it's a free kick. Essendon's way.
Essendon think it's a free kick 15 metres out from goal. They're not going to be happy when it goes all the way back to the middle.
So it has to be brought back to Parrish.
Hawthorn are actually getting smashed in the middle of the ground. Whether it's clearances, free kicks against, they've just got to try and win a centre clearance at the moment or just draw one.
So Parrish goes for a run and then pumps it long. It's off hands. Devon Smith at the front, paddles to his advantage. Right foot snappers missed to the near side. So 12-12, 84 Essendon, Hawthorn 11-15, 81. 24 minutes played in this final term.
Sicily with the kick-in duties. Still plenty of time left in this contest as well. Sicily comes to right half back for the Hawks. Draper over the top with the fist. Hobbs, low down. Hand pass is okay to Parrish, who squeezed the kick out, but only as far as Moore at centre half back. He goes wider still. Mark taken by Bramble, but can't quite get any run going. He's got Sicily cruising past, goes to him by hand.
Chip short to Hardwick, who's marked just inside the field of play. On the wing, city side of the ground. Kicks long towards half forward. Out the back, Pizitsky couldn't come down with it. Warple just gets boot to ball, but is picked up by Hind. He gives it to Merritt, who hand passes to Redmond. Loops the handball over the top to Perkins inside the centre square. Handballs backwards to Parrish. Kick looking towards right. He's got it over the back. He can run to forward 50. It's an open forward 50. Eyes the goals. It bounces towards home. Wright's got 5. And Essendon are out to a 9-point lead. 13-12-90. Hawthorn 11-15-81. 25 gone final term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL, Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson.
Well done to the Bombers. I'm not too sure whether he was having a shot or passing it. I reckon he was passing the ball because it was a half-hearted kick and he'd actually just put it out in front, and lucky enough for Peter Wright, it just kept bouncing on. But at the moment, they have got all the momentum going their way, Berkey, the Bombers, and they're embracing it, and that's what I love about it. They're embracing it, and they're still going, and they've come off half-back. They attacked and attacked and attacked. It's good work by the Bombers.
Yeah, the Hawks need something special from their leaders in the middle here now. They need to win this centre clearance, get the ball going forward.
25 points down, the Bombers. They now enjoy a 9-point lead. Draper again out of the middle. Kicks it inside 50. High ball. Perkins back with a flight. No mark taken. Scrimshaw pushed off his kick. It'll pitch in front of Ward. It ricochets. McGrath keeps it in. Almost turned it over. Shield in to help. Hand pass to Smith. He squeezes a kick out. Now Francis. 1, 2, 3.
What a mark.
Brings it down. Juggles the mark. And they can go 15 points up on the back of this kick.
Yeah, one bloke who's really lifted, and I think he's lifted because in the first half he was beaten badly, and that's Draper in the ruck. Whether he's taken the ball out himself or he's putting the ball down his small players' throats, he knew that he had to lift because he had a really bad game up until this point, and he's had a great last quarter. Admittedly, Lynch has been off for a lot of it, but you make hay while the sun shines.
And the other one is Smith. He had 5 possessions up to 5 minutes into this last quarter. Now he's had 5 in the last. He's up to 10.
Francis from 30 out. Slight angle to the right. Doesn't miss. The Bombers can taste it. 14-12-96. Hawthorn 11-15-81. Still plenty of time for the Hawks to come back, but all the momentum with the red and black.
Well, it just comes down to inside forward 50s and forcing the Hawthorn defenders to defend. They're putting the ball in there. They're competing in the air. They're bringing it to ground when they need to. Inside forward 50s, 53 to 46 in favour of the Bombers at the moment, where the Bombers haven't been in front all night in that category.
I don't know why you do this. You bring Tom Mitchell off the ground, and you put on young Connor McDonald. There's 4 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go. You need 2 goals to get back into it. You don't take a guy like Mitchell off the ground.
So Draper again out of the ruck, paddles it to his advantage. Daythos there for the Hawks. He's tackled by Draper. Ball up 50 metres out from Essendon's goal.
Again, that was just Draper just willing the ball forward, just bullying it forward.
There's a man possessed in this final term. Again, punches it out of the ruck. Should favour Hardwick of the Hawks, but he's dispossessed. Frost now picks up, has a bounce, not sure about that. Handball's off to Day. Handball's out wide to Impey from right half back. Loops the handball over the top to Ward. Handball's back to Day, pursued by Wright. Has to get around him and then chips a kick. A nice one, finds Moore.
Great vision. He can open things up here as well. Moore goes into the middle where Morrison takes it on his chest. Forced to kick on his left. Shallow entry. Lynch in prime spot. He just built it at the last moment. Bruce comes charging through. Knocked away from him. Newcomb big tackle, but not before Hindpurse onto it. Takes 2 bounces through half back. 3 bounces, almost ran into Impey. Drew him in the end. Hand pass to Merritt. His kick smothered. Lands with Perkins. Lacks a fortune. Snapped from 45 and nails it. And the Bombers fans have gone absolutely crazy. 15-12-102. Hawthorn 11-15-81. They have stopped. The Bombers have pounced.
Well, it's just speed off half-back. The last couple of goals or the last couple of forward entries that they've had, it's been coming off half-back quick, the Bombers, and we haven't seen that from them most of the night, and that's what they've been able to do. Move it off the half-back quickly, come through the corridor, smart ball use. It was a bit lucky there. The ball was smothered and fell into Perkins' hands, and it was open goal square. It was luck of fortunes, but you've got to be able to capitalise, and Perkins did.
Yeah, I was going to be a little bit critical there, not handballing the ball over the top to Devon Smith. But, you know what, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. He put it through and could be the hero kicking the sealer.
6 unanswered goals to Essendon in this final term. 7 of the last 8. From the restart, umpires picked out a throw. It's all going Essendon's way. Shield with the free kick. Just chipped sideways to Cutler. Had Redmond running for him. He chose to ignore it. The numbers flood back.
On the first 3 quarters, Hawthorn actually looked like they were moving the ball quicker by foot and by hand, and even carrying the ball a lot more and a lot better than what Essendon was. And Essendon have just ramped that up in this last quarter.
So Essendon just share it around half-back. You know, there's not much time left. Heppel kicks out wide. It's off hands. McDonald handballs to Warple, who handballs to Morrison, goes backwards by hand to Impey, who goes backwards again to McDonald from defensive 50. It's a dangerous kick towards half-forward. Newcomb against Shield. Newcomb picks it up. Tackled by Shield. Umpire says holding the ball.
And that's the other thing that Essendon have forced Hawthorn into doing. In that call there, Jess, you said backwards 3 times. You're calling that for Essendon in the first quarter. So Essendon are actually forcing Hawthorn back at the minute.
Shield chips out wide to Cutler, who can almost go the journey if he takes his full 15. He doesn't. He puts it to the top of the square instead. Flyers are there. No mark taken. Day, there's a chop in the arms free kick, and Day takes the advantage anyway. Kicks an end over end, straight up over halfway. Hind is there, although it's tapped away from him. Bombers a chance again. Good hand pass back to Draper, who had a fumble at the last moment, though he was good enough to regather. Picks it, takes a bounce, gets to 50 and run down and get his boot to ball, the big man. Good chase by the Hawks.
2 things that Ruckman don't do. Kick across goal and try and take on 5 midfielders and take a bounce.
So Hardwick to Impey, back to Hardwick. That's a wobbly kick off the boot towards half forward. Dropping back in the hole is Heppel. Kicks short to Merritt. Just defensive side of the wing. Content to hold it up. Chip short to McGrath. It's marked on the logo, dock side of the ground. Chips inboard to Parrish.
They're just kicking the ball 10 metres at the moment.
So Parrish wants to swing it out wide. He has Martin running for him. He's marked at left half forward. Wants an option inside 50 and sees one. It's Ham on the lead.
It was a lovely kick from one side of the ground to the other over to Martin. Hawthorn were expecting the Bombers just to chip it around 15 metres, but one long kick over, opened the game right up to Martin, and he's just a really, really smart user with the football.
So weeks of scrutiny has faced Essendon. They had 5 late changes coming into today. Backs against the wall, and Ham from 45 metres out. This one will go across the face.
Free kick to right.
Free kick though to the Bombers. So Peter Wright can put icing on the cake. He'll line up for his 6th goal of the game, 3rd in this final quarter.
Yeah, Frost just panicked, grabbed an arm, dragged him backwards slightly.
We'll have to kick around the corner. He's only 2 metres out from goal, but pretty close to the right behind post. Right for goal number 6. And Essendon will get back on the winners list tonight. The lead's now 27 points, 16-12, 108, Hawthorn 11-15, 81 as we tick over to 35 minutes played in this final term.
Question without notice, Berkey. 5 changes coming into the side. Do you make those 5 changes next week? Be the coach?
No, you don't. Possession is 9/10 of the law.
Yeah.
if you've got yourself a spot in the team and you play well, you know what? You deserve to stay in.
It's going to be interesting though, like the dilemma that they're going to have at selection. But this effort has been fantastic by the Bombers. Hawthorn have led at every change, and now the Bombers are going to lead at the change that matters, which is the last quarter.
Hugs on the bench already from the Bombers. Draper down. Caldwell tackled. Umpire says, I'll have it.
And the Hawthorn really, they need to address these late game fade outs. It's cost them a lot so far this year.
Siren goes. Essendon fans can't believe what they have seen. Rutten's replacements have delivered a precious 4 points.
Up to win the premiership flag. Our boys who play this scramble game are always striving for glory and fame. See the Bombers fly up, up. We are the teams they don't fear. They'll try their best, but they can't get near as the Bombers fly up.
Final score here under the roof. Essendon 16-12, 108. Hawthorn 11-15, 81. Goal kickers for the Bombers. Wright kicks 6th. Martin with 2. Francis with 2. Hobbs, Baldwin, Caldwell, Parrish, Merritt and Perkins with 1 apiece. For the Hawks, 2 to Gunston, 2 to Lynch, 2 to Kajitsky, McDonald, McGuinness, Moore and Bruce, all single goal kickers. But it's the Bombers by 27 points.
Bombers fly up, up to win the premiership flag. Our boys who play this scramble game are always striving for glory and fame. See the Bombers fly up, up. We are the teams they don't fear. They all try their best, but they can't get near as the Bombers fly up.
What a win. What a win for the Bombers. After all they've been through this week. After all they went through this afternoon with 5 late changes forced upon the team due to illness. That is some sort of character building win, and perhaps something for Ben Rutten and his men to propel themselves into this season with. Their 2nd win of the year. It's taken 8 rounds, a slow start, but plenty of encouraging signs tonight, running all over Hawthorn with an amazing last quarter where they kicked 8 goals to 1. Berkey, I hate to say this, but you predicted this. You said they would run all over the top of them, and it's exactly what they did.
The signs were there. The Hawks had just lost their way, the way that they were playing the game, probably from about the 18-minute mark of that 3rd quarter, probably even the 15-minute mark of the 3rd quarter. There was no semblance of how they wanted to kick a goal. The only way that they ever looked dangerous was an Essendon mistake and then getting a player out the back. You're not going to kick a winning score by only getting the ball out the back. And probably from half-time onwards, that was the only way they looked like kicking a goal. So to me, it was a case of Hawthorn are really struggling here, and if Essendon could just maintain some composure, get the ball to some dangerous spots, they'll run all over Hawthorn, and that's what happened. Hawthorn, as the game gets on, and they get a little bit tired, and the scoreboard starts to become a factor, they completely lose how they want to play the game and how they want to score goals in particular.
Well, we spoke about Hawthorn, I think, midway through the 3rd quarter, a couple of times, Berkey, that they, there was only, 10 or 12 points in it, that we said that Hawthorn need to stand up and make a stance. But it was Essendon that stood up in the back end of that third quarter, that kept running over the ground, that kept pushing the ball forward. And then at the end, they just kept going through the corridor. They looked so much better as a team. And I spoke about the language that you used, Jesse. You were talking about Essendon early on going backwards, and then by the end of it, we were talking about Hawthorn going backwards. So one thing Essendon really done well, I thought their forward line pressure was very, very well. I thought some of their ability to get after the body, to tackle and want to get the ball, where I reckon the last couple of weeks it's probably been token. But I think tonight that tackling effort was at a high level.
And it was there from the start, wasn't it? Even though they weren't ahead on the scoreboard, that pressure and intensity that they've been so dearly lacking over the last couple of weeks was there.
Tackles 59-46 in favour of the Bombers, and tackles inside forward 50, 10-4 in favour of the Bombers.
And that's where it was noticeable for me. That's where I sort of noticed it was inside their forward 50. They were working very, very hard to keep that ball in there.
Players still celebrating on the park here. What an effort it was. 8 goals in the final term to run over the top. I'm looking forward to getting down into the Bombers' rooms afterwards as well. This is going to be good fun with Lauren Borden, but still a couple of television commitments being fulfilled, and the players are celebrating with the fans who, to be honest, we did speak about this just before the game. If you're an Essendon supporter who haven't had much to cheer about, you're 1-6 coming into tonight, you're coming in on the train or the tram or in the car and you hear 5 of your players are out ill, you had every right to turn around and go home.
Yeah.
But you would have missed out on something pretty special.
My brother is a tragic Essendon supporter. I've been hearing it for weeks. But I think he'll be finally happy up there in Brisbane. So, the fans, I mean, footy is all about the fans, and they ride the highs and lows with the players as well. And God, when the Bombers fans get their voice under the roof here at Marvel, it gets really loud, and no doubt they'll be celebrating long into the night, I think.
And what happens within the inner sanctum? The inner sanctum, and we've just seen some shots of the change rooms in there, and knowing some of the people within and inside, or the inner sanctum of Essendon Football Club, player welfare officers that are there, and you just see that their face, they're just so happy, like they've been, after the season they had last year in making the finals, and this season hasn't started as well as what you would have thought.
Let's head into the rooms with Lauren.
The players are all down here high-fiving each other, giving each other a big hug. Dyson Heppel just had such a proud look on his face. He's got a smile. He hasn't stopped smiling at all as he's coming to the rooms, just giving a few players a few of the hugs. Shields in here too. Obviously, we know he went to the sub last week, back in again today, a few ankle injuries, but getting the boys together in the group now, I think this will be one that's sung with gusto. A few boys going into the middle as they get ready to sing this song.
In the middle, I counted there. Quite extraordinary. Some fantastic scenes with all the players enjoying their first win as a Bomber, and they are absolutely soaked as well. So brilliant scenes down there. We'll head back to Lauren when she has an interview ready for us. Keen to get some reaction from the Bombers, and we'll try and duck across, if we can, time permitting, to the Hawthorn rooms as well, because they'll be fairly shocked after that. They looked fairly comfortable through portions of that game, but the Bombers storming home over the top. For a young side, I mean, it's funny what replacements can do, and we spoke about it before the game, and Johnny, you mentioned that a lot of those players probably wouldn't have suffered the scrutiny of the others over the last couple of weeks. They probably were more relaxed because they didn't have time to think about being prepared for this game. Just how much do you think that sort of mindset was able to assist the Bombers tonight, because they were almost loosened up before going in?
I think so, and I think it was from I guess, probably halfway through the third, or probably, start of the second, where we just seen them going through the corridor a lot. And I reckon that goes a long way. It goes a long way not to have that stigma or that thing that little man or that little voice inside your head that says, little certain things, that some of these players have actually just played freely. some of these new players that have come in. They've been able to play freely. They haven't had to listen to the noise. They haven't been under that scrutiny. So I think it goes a long way. And potentially some of these older players around them, such as, Darcy Parrott and Darcy Parish and Zach Merritt, I thought they were probably some of the influences in coming through the corridor, as well as Caldwell as well at the same time, forcing that ball through the corridor at various different times.
It's interesting with Merritt. He was probably the most public of the vision we saw all through the week. Obviously had a lot of touches last week, but so many TV shows through the week dissected the way he was using the ball and that sort of defence-first mindset where he was going back of stoppage. How encouraging was that for him to come through, just from a personal point of view, Berg?
Yeah, it's good for him. I still think he fell into that trap early in the game and they got out of it later on. Looked to me like Essendon at the start were scared to take the game on and make a mistake. And then it flipped. Hawthorn was scared to take the game on and make a mistake. And you just can't play football like that. And potentially what happens when you've got 5 new players in, it can be a little bit of we've got an excuse if this doesn't go well. And so that can take a little bit of the pressure off you having to win that game.
What's interesting too is Hawthorn came into this game as favourites, and there was a little bit of chatter during the week about how they would take on that tag. Because for a young developing side, that's a different mindset as well that they have to contend with. Something new is going into the game being favourites. So it was interesting to see that fade out. They'll learn a lot from that.
Let's head downstairs. I think the captain has joined Lauren in the Essendon rooms.
I have got a very happy captain. It's been a tough week. It's been a bit of a tough year, I guess, for you, Dyson Heppel, but you've come out here against all odds to get the victory. What's it like for the club right now?
Yeah, just I think I was really proud of the group, really proud of the entire club. We've copped it for a majority of this year, haven't been performing to the level that we would have liked, and we come in with trying circumstances, 4 blokes out before the game, and just shows the resolve and character of the group, and still believing in what we're building towards.
You did have those laid outs. 5 players go out of the side on the day of the match, just, minutes before, hours before, I guess. Does that throw you at all, or how did you regroup after that?
Oh, look, I don't think it threw us at all, to be honest. I think it was just a perfect timing, to be fair, in terms of what we've copped throughout this year. And this one was just like guys that came into the side just played their role beautifully. And we just the energy in the rooms, the week on the track, and boys' just willingness to embrace the circumstances was outstanding.
You mentioned the energy on the track. I was looking at the bench just before the game. Everyone was still smiling, laughing, despite a few of the adversities that you faced. Was that something that you wanted to get back to on the track, just back to enjoying footy a little bit and having a smile when you went out?
Yeah, I think we've copped it for smiling this year, and the bunch of them can seriously. I think it's I'm not going to say you can jam it, but really, it's we bring in great energy every week. That's what we're about, trying to create a really strong culture and vibe at the club, and I think it stood up tonight. We came in with just really good energy. Excuse me.
No, that's all right. You're pretty happy.
Really good energy, and it stood out in our performance for sure.
We'll head upstairs to the box now for some further questions from Nathan Burke, Chris Johnson, Jess Webster and Andrew Mays.
It's Jono here, Heps. Mate, look, all the stats were weighing sort of in the first half, weighing in Hawthorn's direction, but I guess your contested possessions, your tackling, your clearances, that certainly was sort of behind a little bit, but then in this second half it sort of got in front of the opposition. Was that a consistent message from the start, from all the way from the pre-game all the way through the three-quarter time huddle?
Yeah, no doubt. No, they certainly came out really strong around the contested footy, and we knew they're an outstanding side around there, and that was a message that got drummed in at half-time, just making sure we sort that out around the ball and keep stepping in and then support numbers around the footy to be able to drive forward. So I think we managed to turn that around really well.
And obviously, Darce and Zach, they've been under massive scrutiny. And you'd be pleased for them. They've had an outstanding night. And I thought they led the charge of you actually attacking through the corridor tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they've certainly had their trying times over the last few weeks, as we all have, but I just thought they were outstanding in terms of, as you say, stepping forward and taking the ball forward instead of those backwards ones, and it played a big part in us being able to put some scoreboard pressure on.
Well done, mate. Nathan Burke here. Do you notice a difference in your team when you're taking the game on as opposed to that more sort of sideways maintained possession? Sitting up here, it's chalk and cheese between the two, and which one are you trying to do more of?
I think it's trying to have a bit of a balance in that, but we'd sort of lost our way as probably going a bit more composed and trying to be controlled, and it wasn't really working for us over the start of the year, and just got a bit of zip back on the footy, and guys just willing to take the game on and use their own flair, bring their own strengths to the game, and I think we played with a lot of freedom tonight.
Yeah, no doubt. That second half in particular, probably from around the 12, 13-minute mark of that third quarter, just that flair and zip and run off the half-back line and just not being afraid to use your big fellas up forward looked amazing when it was up there, because you've got the three big fellas up there, and Peter was fantastic tonight. But not being afraid to use them, you look at such a far more damaging team.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the key. Give them an opportunity. Boys have been outstanding with their craft and positioning down there. So, I thought we gave them some really good looks, and they'll manage to capitalise.
Dyson, when did you find out that the 5 players weren't going to get up for tonight's game?
Yeah, I reckon we knew 3 or 4 of them were a bit average, bit dusty, about midday, and then another one just before we got here. So, it's some strange circumstances, but you deal with it.
Yeah, no, it was quite strange turning up to the game. I'm sure Essendon fans probably thought what else could go wrong on their way in, but they've turned out to have a pretty good night. I just saw a big mullet walk past you a couple of moments ago. Sam Draper in that second half. Just describe another player who's been under the pump a little bit this year, but the way he was able to dictate terms from the centre, how good was he tonight?
Yeah, unbelievable. He's just got some unbelievable attributes, and that was him, one of the ones that was just taking the game on, not afraid to fend off and drive his legs, and the big fella just brought some bloody good energy in that back half, and he loves his footy and just plays with great energy, so he brought his A game tonight.
What did you think of the running bounces right at the end of the game?
Oh, I love it, actually. I love it. Just keep doing it, big fella.
Dice, it's Jess Webster here. I just want to quickly chat about Nick Martin. Thought he had another great game today. 22 disposals, 10 score involvements and a couple of goals. I mean, for a first-year player, it's so exciting. How have you seen his development this year?
Honestly, ridiculous, to be honest. One of the smoothest movers I've seen, come into the team and play the game full stop. He just makes unbelievable decisions, really crafty left and right, and he's an absolute find for us, I'll tell you what.
Dyson, enjoy the weekend. Anything on for Mother's Day tomorrow?
We'll try and link up with Mum along the lines and box of chockies and some flowers, I reckon.
Good stuff. Enjoy tomorrow. Enjoy the celebrations too. Great win by your club tonight.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Dyson Heppel joining us downstairs after the Bombers came from nowhere. 8 goals in the final term to run over the top of the Hawks. The final score 16-12, 108 to the Hawks, 11-15, 81. Let's flip to the Hawks and just their side of things. Obviously, they take a fair few good things out of the first hour of footy tonight, but then, Berkey, you noticed a few things that were just going wrong, and they weren't consistent through the back half of that opening half.
Yeah, there was no linkage in their play. When Hawthorn are playing really good football, they get a lot of numbers around the contest, and they use their hands really well in a proactive way. It's not just, I'm in trouble, I've got a handball to someone. Or I'm in trouble, I've got a handball to someone. They're actually proactive in the way that they use the ball, and the receiver is running forward. That sort of fell away. That was the first thing I noticed, that sort of fell away, and their handballs were because I'm in trouble. And the next player got in trouble. And that was probably a little bit big. Essendon just upped the ante a little bit in their pressure in that as well. But also, too many times when they did get a player free, they looked up and nobody down the ground had actually moved into position to get the next kick. And that forced them to second-guess themselves and turn the ball over. And then Essendon off they went again. So, first of all, it was what they were doing around the contest wasn't proactive. And then down the field, like Bruce only had the 8 possession side. He was quite ordinary. Gunston kicked 2 goals for, but wasn't a great game. Kazitsky was pretty much unsighted for most of the night. So when they got the ball out and forward, it was like, hey, you forwards are doing nothing. You're not giving us anything. I'm going to hang on to the ball, and then we lost it. So that whole disjointedness from Hawthorn that wasn't there in that first probably quarter and a half really set in that second half.
I don't think I can remember Tom Mitchell being so quiet as well. He's ended up with 14 possessions, I think, for the game. Was there anything you noticed particular about him? Was he just not getting to contest like he normally does? There wasn't a real heavy tag on him as such.
I watched him for a little bit. I reckon he's lost a bit of speed to be able to break away from the contest. There was a couple of times he got it in congestion, and whether he's carrying an injury or whether there's something not right with his legs at the moment or back or hip or whatever it is, I just didn't see him. He wasn't able to accelerate. He was always a player for mine, even when he played at Sydney, that he was able to turn that bit of speed on whenever he needed it, and I reckon that's where he struggled tonight, and he just couldn't break away. He couldn't break away from the contest. But I think for Hawthorn, I think the big turning point for me was when Lynch went off. They lost their whole centre bounce structure, which then lost their forward line structure. And then I spoke earlier, I don't think they like playing on a smallish ground here at Marvel Stadium at the same time. I reckon they struggle. I reckon they like to work over teams, and today they just didn't have the space that to run in. And I reckon I watched them last week against Melbourne. That's certainly not the football they produced last week. They played very, very good football against Melbourne Football Club last week in the benchmark of the competition. Had a lapse for about 10 or 15 minutes in one quarter, but tonight I didn't see that team come out here tonight and play football.
It was really quite different because last week against Melbourne, they were down by about 30 points late in the third and showed real spirit to come back and only lose by 10. And it's a complete opposite tonight. I mean, was it pressure from the opposition, or is it just simply a young developing side who won 3 out of their first 5, pushed Melbourne by 10 points, and then maybe just got found out a little bit tonight?
I reckon I know what it is, and it's not knowing how to win. It's when you're 30 points down, you say, hey, we're not going to win this game, so you just throw caution to the wind, and away you go. They got themselves back into the game. That's a completely different mindset than being 24 points up against an Essendon. It's like, oh, I hope we don't lose this. I hope we don't sort of quick fast forward the clock so we get this game over and done with. That's completely different than being 30 points behind.
Couple of minutes left. Who's got the votes tonight? Jono or Berkey?
You said Jono first.
The other thing I want to say, I'll give you the vote. The other thing I want to say, I reckon that the age difference between these teams, I reckon, and I'm not sure, you might be able to correct me, I reckon it's Hawthorn are probably the younger, but I reckon there was more experienced heads for Essendon tonight when they knew, you called it a couple of times, Berkey, that there was a couple of Essendon boys that just knew the moment, and I don't think Hawthorn did.
So a 27-point win for the Bombers tonight. In the other game at the Gabba, Brisbane ended up 75-point winners over West Coast. The final score 16-9-105. To the Eagles 4-6-30, which, if you read some of the predictions, it's probably on the lighter side of what people were predicting with the West Coast out at the moment. The other results today, Richmond by 27 over Collingwood. Gold Coast with an upset win by 14 points over Sydney at the SCG, and Geelong 53-point winners over GWS. We've got about a minute left on air. Run us through the votes. Your 3, 2 and 1 for the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Apologies first to a couple of boys. I thought they were pretty good, was Jager O'Meara, and I reckon Newcombe were very good on the opposition. But tonight I'm going to go 3 votes to big 2-metre Peter. He's kicked 6 goals tonight. He had a hand in a goal in every quarter and kicked 3 in the last. I thought he was a real turning point. Presented up the ground at the same time. He's got my 3 votes, and my 2 votes will go to Darcy Parish. He's had the 32 possessions, 6 clearances, 13 contested possessions as well, and then my 1 vote is going to go to Zach Merritt. 28 possessions, 14 contested, and the 6 clearances as well. And Darcy Parish, I forgot to mention, 7 tackles at the same time.
So 3 to Wright, 2 to Parish, and 1 to Merritt to finish a memorable night for the Bombers. Jono, Berkey, thank you very much for your company tonight. That was good fun. Thank you, Jess. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks to Andrea back in the studio and Jules on the buttons. Join Grandstand AFL. Plenty more action coming your way from midday tomorrow as well. To McGrath, who has no one on him, so he can take a bounce. He gets to 55. Parish was there to row front centre, and Essendon have the first. Sharp by Cornwall. Short kick is okay, and Wright had a couple of metres on Frost. 17 goals from 7 games for Big Peter Wright, and he doesn't miss his first chance this evening. And the Bombers have the opening 2. Ward, who just casually puts it at the top of the square. Lynch, maybe this time he can have his first goal in AFL footy. Sixth game, first goal for Max Lynch. Kick up towards the top of 50. Callow was there. Spoiled away from him. Beautiful from O'Meara. And the man of the moment, Max Lynch, runs in for his second goal from the top of the square. Low spearing kick, almost out the back was Callow. Touched away from him into the path of Gunston, who snaps the goal. Oh, that's class for you.
4-goal lead for Hawthorn to start the second half. And he slots it from 50.
Inside 50 he goes. Hobbs takes the mark. Backing back with the flight. How does he go this time, Hobbs? He likes it off the feet. And he's got his first goal in AFL footy. And Essendon are right back in this. Blind handball turns out okay to Warple in the middle. Hand pass to O'Meara. And now to McGuinness, who pulls the trigger from 50 all the way home. Kicked it in the end to Perkins, who had to loop back. Long kick is good inside the forward pocket. And the mark is taken in the end by Baldwin. High kick. Looks okay. The Essendon fans love it behind the goals. Margin back to 10 after 2 minutes. Martin runs onto it, looking for an option inside 50. Caught on his left. Right should mark this. He does! Brought it to ground. Paid the mark. Peter Wright from 20 out. He's got it. And the Dogs are back. They're within a goal. And now to Francis to the top of the square. Peter Wright not quite. It's off Merritt. He didn't pick it up. It fell onto his boot. He kicked the goal.
Hang on. Maisie.
I reckon he's fumbled this onto his boot and it's gone straight through the middle. Essendon in front.
Looking towards right. He's got it over the back. He can run to forward 50. It's an open forward 50. Eyes the goals. It bounces towards home. Wright's got 5.
Hand pass to Merritt. His kick smothered. Lands with Perkins. Looks a fortune. Snapped from 45 and nails it. And the Bombers fans have gone absolutely crazy. The Bombers have pounced. Siren goes. Essendon fans can't believe what they have seen. Rutten's replacements have delivered a precious 4 points.
They all try their best, but they can't get in as the Bombers fly on.
For NHG. Racing Victoria says it's given up trying to get into schools to promote their sport to kids.
Given up? Why?
Well,
some kids just have that
knack.
Yeah, they can pick a winner just by looking at it. And it's a great shame to me, and I've said this to Peter V'landis, that these kids aren't encouraged to do it professionally. You know, to leave school early and make a fortune by the time they're 11. They're set up for life.
Bludging on the blind side.
Saturdays from midday on radio and the ABC Listen app. ABC Sport Digital Radio.
It's been a while since I've been on an athletics track, but I'm here down in Newcastle to speak to Eliza O'Connell. I was able to share 2 Australian teams with Eliza, one in 2004 at the Athens Paralympic Games, and then 14 years later when she would make a return into the Gold Coast 2018 team to win a silver medal in the marathon.
Biggest race of your career, so you've done a great job.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I enjoyed just being out here. It was fantastic.
Eliza O'Connell, welcome to 1+1.
Thanks, Fernley.
We're here at the Blue Track in the inner city track of Newcastle. What sort of memories does this place bring you back?
Well, this place is looking a little more flash than when I was here last. It's now the Fernley Doors track.
But back when you were training on here, it was the Newcastle Athletics track, and I think it was so worn you would almost eat blue.
You would come out. Do you remember when it would rain? And do you remember the blue that you would come home with?
Yep.
Do you remember that?
I remember those sessions because when it did start raining, I would be crying in a corner, and for some reason, when the rain would come, when the wind would come, whenever it would be the most fierce opposition in the session, you would thrive.
I was that jerk, right?
Well, what is it that makes you thrive when it feels like you're in one of those really uncomfortable moments?
Being uncomfortable, it's something that, we're taught to avoid, isn't it? But, having that experience and that opportunity and what you learn about yourself in those moments, and just realising, I guess, everyone around you is thinking, you're absolutely mad. And you go, do you know what? I am absolutely mad and I'm really, really loving it. It just gives you that sense of satisfaction and when you're loving what you do, you want to do it in rain, hail or shine.
Did you always, as a kid, have a love for sport?
I always had a love for sport. I loved, being involved. I loved the friendships. I loved the connections. But I wasn't competitive. I didn't have that desire to be the best or to win or to, I wasn't driven by the success of sport. I was driven to do sport because I loved being involved. And my God, how that's changed.
So it has changed. You are competitive now.
Oh, 100%. And the thing that really shifted, I think, when I went through the experience that I had with meningococcal disease was that, I went from, enjoying participation, enjoying the connection of sport, to then realising that, there was something more. And that something more was that competitive edge. And that was one of the things that I discovered that, I was 16 years old. We were only beginning to discover ourselves as teenagers.
Well, tell me about that day, the day before you realised that you had got meningococcal.
It was a Monday of the first week of the school holidays in September, the spring break, beautiful time. I was with a girlfriend, we went swimming for the day. The really, really funny thing was, thinking back to that particular day, a gentleman came in and, look, he was probably in his maybe late 50s, early 60s, and he had a prosthetic leg. And at the time, 15, 16-year-old girls kind of get the giggles up because you think, he's got a prosthetic leg. Wow, I've never actually seen one in real life. The very next day, woke up, headaches, nausea, as you do. You think you've got, food poisoning or, perhaps a little, stomach bug. That night, on life support, the story plays out, having my legs amputated a couple of days later, in that position of needing to wear prosthetics for the rest of my life, and not, thinking back and thinking that, I'd seen someone that, why in that moment, I probably passed hundreds of people in my life that, have had prosthetic limbs, and why on that particular given day, the day beforehand, was he in my life and, swimming in the pool with me. One of those things obviously, I was in the right place at the right time, because I guess I looked at, I thought about it and I looked at him, and he was swimming, he was carrying on with his life as normal, and all of a sudden my life was about to take, I guess, that turn.
When you were at home and you did get a headache, a few symptoms, what did your family think? She's
got a headache, she's nauseous, she's probably eaten something bad. I thought, it could be the flu coming on. You never think it's something serious. You hear stories about people, having accidents or having major illnesses, and you never think that you're going to be in that position. I can still recall a moment, I'd just been sick, and I remember holding myself on the vanity in the bathroom and looking into the mirror. And I can still remember looking into my eyes and just saying, I've never been this sick in my life. What is going on?
Do you know when the alarm bells really hit your parents, your mum?
So as you tend to do when you're not feeling well, you think, I'll pop a couple of paracetamol and I'll take a nap. And that's what I did. And, I probably fell asleep for, a couple of hours, and I was very fortunate that the phone rang, and the phone call was actually for me. and Mum came in with the cordless phone. She just, you know, it was big in the 90s, you know, when you had a cordless phone. How good was it? You remember that, right?
Car call. We didn't have cordless
You didn't even have phones.
We had to
there.
go to the post office and share a phone.
But we had a cordless phone, and you know, I think back if she didn't push Dad to get that cordless phone, and she still had the old springy corded, you know, telephones that we had in the 90s. If she didn't have that cordless phone and bring that phone into me to take that phone call, could the outcome here have been completely different? If she didn't come in and discover that I had a fever because I'd kicked all the blankets off and that my feet were actually turning blue and black, would the outcome have been different?
And the following days, everything changed pretty quickly after that. You mentioned you were in a coma.
Yeah.
Your family had to make some pretty quick choices at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I think back, I had the easy job. I was placed in an induced coma. You know, I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't in control of the treatments, the procedures. Put yourself in the situation, you're a parent now. I'm a parent. Imagine having to sign the consent forms to have your child's legs removed. I mean, I put myself in that position, and I imagine the strength that they would have had to have mustered to be able to do that. I mean, not that they had a choice, really. They knew that it was do it or die. You know, I had to continue on, and I had to live my life with hope, because they had placed so much strength into me and my recovery that, you know, I can't help but think how strong they were.
You say that you did have the easy job, but that you were in an induced coma, but
well, relatively easy job.
while your parents had to sign the consent form.
Yeah.
But then you were 16 and you were given the choice around when the infection was in your hands. How does a 16-year-old grapple with the idea of amputating or not amputating parts of your hand?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty wild thought that, you know, you can, at that age, be in control, and, you know, it was a choice. And it's funny, a girl came to visit me. Her name was Nicole, and she, just 1 year prior, had meningococcal disease. She made the choice not to have her hands touched by surgery, so she kept her hands